Chapter 753. The power of immortals and deities cannot be violated. 2-1/5. Everyone looked at Wang Xian in a daze, looking at the ice soul stone beside him. At this moment, Flower Fairy's feelings were the most complicated. Her eyes were flickering as she looked at the ice soul stone that was slowly closing. She looked at the girl who had disappeared from her sight. The girl who was lying inside the ice soul stone. She could not help but feel a sense of jealousy in her heart. She originally thought that this unknown young man was here to pursue her, to gain her favor. He wanted to woo her by taking out some valuable items. But now, it seemed that everything the young man did was not to please her, nor was it to gain her favor. It was for that girl. As long as it was something you could use, no matter how great the price, I would get it for you. Even she was moved by such a man. What a pity! What a pity! A hint of sadness appeared in Flower Fairy's eyes. For the first time she was actually envious of a girl. She missed him, Flower Fairy. He was the beauty who ranked third among the top beauties in the Jianghu. Arrogant, you want to deal with us? When Bing Chuanyun heard Wang Xian's words, a hint of coldness appeared in his eyes. He waved his arm and pointed an ice sword at Wang Xian. I would like to see how you will deal with us. If you don't give us an explanation for my junior brother's injuries today, then we will have to deal with you properly. Clang! 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 In an instant, more than 10 disciples of the Ice God Celestial sect pulled out their spiritual swords. They swept a glance at the Ice Soul Stone and a hint of passion flashed in their eyes. They stared at Wang Xian and a hint of mockery flashed in their eyes. This was the territory of their Tangding and the Ice God Celestial sect. They were not afraid of anyone here, even if this young man came from a powerful celestial sect. So what? The Ice God Celestial sect was no weaker than the others. Everyone, this is our innate celestial sect, not your Ice God Celestial sect. Fairy Flower looked at Wang Xian and sighed. She looked at Bing Chuanyun and said with a cold expression, "Guests are guests. At the very least, they are our guests." Flower Fairy took a glance at her senior sister beside Bing Chuanyun and added. That senior sister frowned slightly and didn't say anything. That's right. This young master is our guest. This is our natural-born celestial sect. That's right. Don't look down on our natural-born celestial sect. A few girls behind Flower Fairy said. The girls were all emotional. Seeing a young man sacrifice so much for a girl who was in a deep sleep, they were also very touched. When Glacier Cloud saw Flower Fairy and a few natural-born immortal sect girls speak up for him, his expression was slightly embarrassed. Since this is your 100-flower immortal sect, we cannot make a move, but we have to take him away. That's fine. After all, our natural-born immortal sect and the Ice God immortal sect have a very good relationship. Chuanyun, you guys can't do anything here. However, it's not our responsibility to take him out. The girl beside Chuanyun immediately chimed in. Flower Fairy's expression slowly turned a little awkward. She pursed her lips and did not say anything. When the surrounding disciples of the true martial immortal sect saw this scene, they knew that this young man was doomed. Bring him out. Bing Chuanyun stared at Wang Xian and the corner of his mouth curled up slightly. Leave him to us. The middle-aged man and a young man beside him walked over directly. They held weapons in their hands and stared at Wang Xian coldly. Be good. It's best if you give up resisting. Otherwise, How can there be so many people who are courting death? Wang Xian looked at the two people who were walking towards him and swung his arm towards them. The movement of his hand wasn't fast. It was as though he was swatting a mosquito. There wasn't any energy in it and everyone could see the trajectory of his attack. The middle-aged man and the young man had a look of disdain in their eyes. They raised their arms and were about to press down on Wang Xian's hands. However, at this moment, a green energy was suddenly released and attacked the two of them at their chests. Huh! The two of them were stunned and immediately raised the spirit swords in their hands. Not good. The two of them changed their expressions. Their bodies were struck by the powerful force and were sent to the flower bushes behind them. We were too careless. He actually dared to resist. He's courting death. The two of them changed their expressions slightly. Their bodies shook and they were prepared to attack Wang Xian. Whoosh! 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 However, at this moment the beautiful flowers below started to move. The beautiful flowers were like demons that devoured people. The thousands of flowers grew to a length of about 100 meters. Before the two of them could react, they were surrounded. Ah! Two miserable screams were heard. Then there was nothing else. The thousands of beautiful flowers returned to normal. Following that, the middle-aged man and the young man disappeared. There was no blood. There was only a kind of demonic beauty. Wang Xian didn't want to be too bloody, so he turned the two of them into soil. What? Damn it! How dare you kill a disciple of our ice god celestial sect? Kill him! At the sight of this scene, the disciples of the ice god celestial sect of Bingchuan Yun were enraged. A bone-chilling chill spread from the surroundings. The three disciples of the ice god celestial sect waved their arms. One of the middle-aged men had a terrifying aura that made people tremble. Terrifying ice swords attacked Wang Xian one after another. Wang Xian stood there indifferently. He opened his mouth slightly and the green dragon bead instantly attacked the three disciples of the ice god celestial sect. Bang bang bang. The ice swords in front of him directly collapsed and dissipated. The three of them were knocked down in the sea of flowers. At this moment, the sea of flowers once again turned into a terrifying sea of flower demons. The three ice god immortal sect disciples were instantly drowned. Senior brother Bing Hai. How is this possible? The ice god immortal sect and everyone else were stunned. If the middle-aged youth who had just attacked had been killed due to carelessness, they could still accept it. However, of the three ice god immortal sect disciples that attacked next, the middle-aged man had the strength of the infant stage. Among the disciples of the ice god celestial sect, his potential and prestige were second only to Bingchuan Yun. Yet, he was still killed in an instant. This shocked everyone. His strength! Bingchuan Yun's pupils could not help but shrink as he stared at Wang Xian with a serious expression. He should be a half-step immortal god. To be able to take out so many precious items, he must be extraordinary. He must be a half-step immortal god. That green bead, if I'm not wrong, should be a level 13 spiritual artifact, the artifact of the immortal. The expressions of everyone around changed slightly, especially the group of girls from the innate immortal sect. Wang Xian was using the wood attribute. He controlled the sea of flowers beside him to turn into a terrifying flower monster. They could sense a terrifying energy. Wang Xian's expression did not change. He took a step forward slowly. The green dragon bead slowly emitted a wave of pressure. The green light instantly covered the group of ice god sect's disciples who were attacking. Among them was the girl from the innate immortal sect. What are you doing? Let me tell you. This is our innate immortal sect. If you make a move here, our immortal god will not let you off. When the girl saw the green light covering her, her expression changed drastically. Her eyes were filled with fear. Young master, please stop. Don't hurt senior sister. Flower Fairy also changed her expression slightly and said hurriedly, "Oh." Her face was filled with excitement and malevolence. Guji is here. Haha, our deity is here. You are done for. You are done for. Chapter 754. The power of the immortal god must not be violated. 3/2. Guji Guji. A cry was heard. Oh. The excited and shrill voice of the senior sister from the natural-born immortal sect was heard at the same time. Everyone was slightly stunned and looked towards the entrance. A half-meter-tall wooden tree demon was running towards them with excited eyes. It's Guji, the Flower Queen's pet. The Flower Queen is here. Everyone exclaimed when they saw the tree demon suddenly appear. This magical tree demon was the Flower Queen's pet, and had been following behind the Flower Queen. If Guji appeared, the Flower Queen must be behind it too. The Flower Queen was an immortal-level powerhouse, and the only female immortal in the entire world of the soup tripod. She was as strong as a woman and was full of dignity. Now that a young man wanted to kill a disciple of their natural-born immortal sect, the immortal could definitely kill him directly. After all, this was the natural-born immortal sect. If someone wanted to cause trouble, the immortal could directly take action. You're done for, you damn thing. You actually dared to kill a disciple of our ice god immortal sect. You're done for. Bing Chuanyun also stared at Wang Xian with a ferocious expression and shouted loudly, "Guji Guji!" At this moment, his eyes lit up as he sensed the energy that excited him. His round eyes scanned his surroundings. However, when he saw Wang Xian, he let out an anxious cry. His face was filled with fear. He quickly bypassed Wang Xian and ran to the side of Flower Fairy. He reached out his hand and pulled her back. Flower Fairy looked at Guji with a look of astonishment. Pa pa pa! At this moment the sound of footsteps could be heard. A valiant woman walked over with an aura of motherhood. Her eyes were sparkling as she stared at the green dragon bead in the sky. Lady Queen! Sect leader of the Queen! The Ice God Celestial Sect, and the girl shouted excitedly when they saw the woman walking over. The woman turned her head and swept her gaze across them. Her gaze landed on Wang Xian as her eyes sparkled. On the greenwood path, she rushed over when she saw Wang Xian walking towards the innate celestial sect. She didn't expect that this powerhouse, who was one level higher than her, would actually enter their celestial sect. Master! Flower Fairy picked up Guji and rushed to Flower Queen's side. What's going on? The Queen of Flowers asked with a twinkle in her eyes. Sect leader of the Queen of Flowers, it's him. He actually killed 5 disciples of the Ice God Celestial Sect in our celestial sect. Now he wants to kill us. Sect leader of the Queen of Flowers, please make a decision for our sect and kill him. Lady Queen of Flowers, please make a decision for our disciples of the Ice God Celestial Sect. Kill him or hand him over to our celestial sect. The girl and Bing Chuanyun hurriedly shouted. After they were done, they stared at Wang Xian with cold eyes. Their eyes were filled with excitement. What was there to be afraid of, the celestial sect? Master, it's like this. Fairy Flower told the Lady Queen of Flowers what had happened. But it's like what she said. When the Lady Queen of Flowers heard Fairy Flower's words, she asked the girl who was shrouded in green light with an expressionless face. The girl was slightly stunned, then she immediately explained, Sect Master Flower Empress, a junior brother of the Ice God Immortal Sect only wanted to touch him, but he was instantly heavily injured by him. He attacked our Immortal Sect without any scruples. It's simply contempt for our Immortal Sect. Sect Master, he still wants to kill me now. Sect Master, please punish him. He killed 5 of our senior and junior brothers. Please punish him, Lady Flower Queen. The girl and the group of Ice God Celestial Sect's disciples said loudly, the power of the immortals cannot be offended. Flower Queen said slowly, did you hear that, kid? To dare to make a move in the innate celestial sect is the greatest disrespect to the immortals. Go to hell. Sir, you can do whatever you want with them. Bing Chuanyun stared at Wang Xian with excitement and growled in a low voice. However, before he could finish his sentence, he heard the Flower Queen's faint words. In an instant, his expression froze. Everyone was stunned. The disciples of the Ice God Immortal Sect who were surrounded by the green light, the disciples of the True Martial Immortal Academy, the Natural-Born Immortal Sect's disciples, and the Flower Fairy all looked at the Flower Queen in shock. This lord. The Flower Queen actually addressed this lord to that young man. Normally, the lord would only address an immortal-level powerhouse. And the Flower Queen herself was an immortal-level powerhouse, yet she was addressing that young man as lord. That meant his strength was even stronger than the Flower Queen. That young man was an immortal-level powerhouse. Everyone's expression changed drastically as they looked at Wang Xian in shock. Their eyes were filled with disbelief and respect. However, the glacier cloud that was enveloped by the green light, as well as the female student and the rest were completely stunned. Their bodies trembled slightly and their eyes were filled with disbelief. The might of an immortal god must not be offended. Wang Xian looked at the woman and revealed a faint smile. The might of an immortal god must not be offended. On that path, if he was not an immortal god, Wang Xian was sure that this woman would definitely teach him a lesson. This was the dignity of an immortal god. It was not something that others could offend. Even if it was a disciple of his immortal sect who provoked an immortal god, he would be courting death. No immortal sect would do such a thing to protect a disciple who deliberately provoked an immortal god. Buzz. Wang Xian waved his arm and the green dragon bead in the sky turned into rays of light. No, no. We were wrong. We didn't know that you are the immortal. The disciples of the Glacier Cloud sect saw Wang Xian waving his hand and showed despair on their faces. They quickly knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. Sect leader, save me. The girl shouted with a miserable face. Flower Queen looked on expressionlessly. She was not an indecisive person since she had stepped into the immortal realm as a girl. A bunch of shrimps had provoked an immortal god. The price had to be borne by herself. Bang bang bang. The sound of shattering could be heard. No, my cultivation, my Danton. Bing Chuan Yun shouted with a face full of despair. He was an outstanding disciple of the Ice God Immortal sect, a proud heaven's favorite. Now he was actually crippled. You guys send them back. The Flower Queen's face was expressionless when she saw this scene. She slowly said to the remaining disciples of the Ice God Immortal sect, who were standing there in a daze. Yes, yes. They hurriedly responded and walked towards the disciples of the Immortal sect. Seeing them become crippled one by one, they rejoiced in their hearts. Fortunately, they weren't blinded by greed just now. However, who would have thought that the young man was actually an immortal god? And an immortal god that was even stronger than the Flower Queen. They deserved to die this time. They provoked an immortal god and even wanted to take him away. They are simply courting death. The crowd of Jinwu Celestial Academy's disciples looked at Wang Xian with a complicated expression. Their eyes were filled with respect as they glanced at Wang Xian. This was the prestige of an immortal god. Even in the natural-born celestial sect in Tangding, if you deliberately provoked an immortal god, the immortal god would still be able to cripple and kill you without paying any price. The power of the immortal, not to be offended. Chapter 755. Suchangshu 3/5. Thank you, sir. I am one of the sect leaders of the natural-born celestial sect. May I know where you come from? What brings you to our natural-born celestial sect? The Queen of Flower swept her gaze across the Ice God celestial sect, and the girl from her own sect and expressed her gratitude to Wang Xian. Oh. The girl was not crippled. She would be able to recover after a few months of recuperation. This showed that this immortal was doing this on purpose for his own sake. Secondly, he must have something to do at the innate immortal sect. I'm from the Dragon Gate. Sorry to bother you. I do have something to do at the innate immortal sect. I'm here to ask for a medicine. Wang Xian nodded to the Flower Queen and said truthfully. He did indeed have something to ask of her, so he didn't go too far. Oh, Dragon Gate? A hint of surprise flashed across the Flower Queen's eyes. He had never heard of Dragon Gate, and it wasn't one of the 20 immortal gates. Sir, please come in. No matter what, the other party was a middle-level immortal. She was worthy of taking him seriously. She invited Wang Xian in. All right. Wang Xian nodded and followed him into the inner area of the innate immortal gate. Behind him, everyone was staring at his back in shock. Their eyes were still filled with disbelief. The entire natural-born celestial sect was in a world of plants. There were all kinds of trees, vines, and flowers. Apart from the roads, the rest of the places were basically filled with plants. Here, wood element cultivators could improve greatly when they fought. The disciples of the natural-born celestial sect lived on the wooden houses on the trees. Houses were built on the huge trees, giving people a natural feeling. After passing through an area covered by rattan orchids, the Queen of Flowers brought Wang Xian to the central area. Behind them, Flower Fairy carried Guji and followed behind them. She sized up Wang Xian with a curious look on her face. Her mind was full of thoughts. She was thinking about how old Wang Xian was this year. What kind of force was Dragon Gate? She was filled with curiosity towards him and a series of questions. Sir, please take a seat. Flower Fairy, pour some tea. Flower Fairy said directly to Flower Fairy. Yes, master. Flower Fairy nodded and immediately poured a cup of tea for Wang Xian. I am the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate. Wang Xian, sorry to disturb the sect leader of the Flower Queen. The other party greeted her politely. Wang Xian also cupped his hands at her. The main reason why I came to the innate immortal sect this time is to request for a type of spiritual herb. Wang Xian went straight to the point and said to the Flower Queen, Sir Wang Xian, what kind of spiritual herb are you looking for? If our innate immortal sect has it, we will definitely not be stingy. The Queen of Flowers asked Wang Xian. A spiritual herb that can strengthen one's soul. Wang Xian stared at the Queen of Flowers and said with some anticipation, Strengthen one's soul. The Queen of Flowers was stunned for a moment and frowned slightly. Things that touch one's soul are very rare. The 100 Flowers liquid is an item that can help one recover one's soul. If you say it's a spiritual herb of a higher grade than the 100 Flowers liquid. As the Flower Queen spoke, she looked at Guji, who was at the side. We do have a spiritual herb here. It's called the wood spirit fruit. It's a grade 8 spiritual fruit. Really? Wang Xian's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. May I know how the Flower Queen can exchange it? The wood spirit fruit is a very special fruit. Sir Wang Xian, the ice soul stone contains your lover. Let me take a look at it for you. Our natural-born celestial sect is not inferior to the Holy Doctor celestial sect in terms of treatment. The energy in the body is somewhat chaotic and out of control. There is only one kind of situation. The Flower Queen frowned slightly and spoke slowly. I suddenly received a terrifying power, but this power far exceeds the burden of the body, making it impossible for people to control it. It is to the extent that I cannot control my body, and I cannot even support myself to move. It's indeed because of my soul. I want to heal the spiritual herbs or elixirs that strengthen my soul. Wang Xian nodded his head slowly when he heard the Queen of Flowers' diagnosis. We don't have many wood spirit fruits here. I'm not sure if it can wake up my lover. The Queen of Flowers said to Wang Xian, I want as much as you have. You can tell me what you want in exchange. Wang Xian said to the Flower Queen in pleasant surprise. Flower Queen, a distinguished guest from the Holy Medicine Immortal sect of the Holy Medicine Immortal sect is here. Come here for a moment. At this moment, a voice was suddenly heard. The Flower Queen, who was sitting at the side, was slightly surprised. Yes, Grand Elder. The Flower Queen immediately responded. She turned her head to look at Wang Xian and said, Sir Wang Xian, the Holy Medicine Immortal sect and the Holy Medicine Immortal sect are here. They are also very good at this aspect. It's a good opportunity for us to take a look. Flower Queen, do you have a good relationship with the Celestial sect of Holy Medicine and the Celestial sect of Holy Medicine? Wang Xian frowned slightly. Our relationship is quite normal. However, the Celestial sect of Holy Medicine and the Celestial sect of Holy Medicine want to cooperate with us since we have the most spiritual herbs in the world. The Flower Queen said to Wang Xian. Looking at his expression, she hesitated for a moment before asking, Sir Wang Xian has a grudge with them? Some grudge, I guess. Wang Xian replied plainly, however, it's not a big problem. Sir Wang Xian, why don't we go over and take a look? Everyone who comes to our natural-born celestial sect is a guest. The wood spirit fruit is a little special. I need to inform the Great Elder and the rest. The Queen of Flowers stood up and spoke to Wang Xian. All right. Wang Xian nodded his head. He stood up and followed the Queen of Flowers towards the back. The Flower Fairy immediately followed behind him. As he walked behind, Wang Xian could feel a strong wood elemental energy. The energy was majestic and full of vitality. If an ordinary person stayed here, he could even increase his lifespan by a few decades. He looked at the source of the energy. His eyes were twinkling as he stared at a tree in front of him. The Vimla tree? Activating the plant intelligence. It's another special divine tree. Moreover, it's different from the endless wood soul-returning tree with only one branch. This Vimla tree is a complete tree. Wang Xian sized up the Vimla tree with a twinkle in his eyes. The tree was not very tall. It was only about 7 to 8 meters tall, and its branches were not very lush. And now, half of the tree was dark green, and the other half was withered, as if it was malnourished. It would not take long for the tree to completely wither, turning into a tree trunk like a soul-returning tree. Next to the tree, 8 people were sitting at a wooden table. All of them were middle-aged elders, and they had a dignified expression on their bodies. All of them were immortals, and all 8 of them were immortals. And at the side stood more than a dozen disciples. Chapter 756. Malicious Intent, 4/5. Grand Elder. The Flower Queen glanced at the 4 middle-aged men and said to a white-bearded old man who was sitting in the middle, "Oh, Flower Queen, come here. The distinguished guests from the Holy Medicine Immortal sect are here. Come over and have a chat." The white-bearded old man said to the Flower Queen with a smile, "Yes, Grand Elder." The Queen of Flowers nodded with a smile. "Oh, it's him." At this moment, a middle-aged man among the dozen of people standing at the side looked at Wuxia, who was beside the Queen of Flowers. A hint of surprise flashed across his eyes. He sized her up with his eyes that were flickering. This must be the Queen of Flowers. She is as strong as a man. It seems that she lives up to her reputation. Who is this? A green-robed elder looked at the Queen of Flowers and asked with a smile. Then, his gaze landed on Wuxia, who was shoulder to shoulder with the Queen of Flowers. A hint of doubt flashed across his eyes. "Sir, I know him. I know him." At this moment, before the Queen of Flowers could speak, the middle-aged man at the side pointed at Wuxia with a cold gaze and said, "I have seen his image. He is the Dragon King who destroyed our lineage in the real world. Furthermore, there is a high possibility that my father and Elder Bien were killed by him." The middle-aged man stared at Wuxia with fury in his eyes. He shouted with an agitated expression, "Dragon King? Dragon Gate?" The green-robed elder was stunned. He narrowed his eyes and sized up Wuxia. Hua frowned slightly and said immediately, "Grand Elder, this lord is a guest." "Lord?" The 8 middle-aged men and the elder were slightly shocked. A hint of solemnity flashed across the green-robed elder's face. "Sorry to disturb you. Everyone from the natural-born immortal sect, Dragon King of the Dragon Gate, is here to pay a visit." Wuxia cupped his hands at the 4 middle-aged men from the natural-born immortal sect. When he retracted his hands, he slowly waved his arm behind him. "Ah!" The middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. He stared at his arm in horror. At this moment, his arm actually withered like a tree in an instant. "Shut up." An elder beside him quickly said to the middle-aged man. "Huff! Huff!" The middle-aged man widened his eyes and panted heavily. He was filled with fear. The green-robed elder narrowed his eyes slightly when he saw Wuxia crippled one of his disciples' arm. The 3 middle-aged elders beside him also looked at Wuxia coldly. "Dragon King of the Dragon Gate, you must have killed the disciples of the Hua family and the Bien family, right?" The green-robed elder looked at Wuxia and said plainly, "A bunch of people who are looking for death just offended me." Wuxia said calmly and honestly, "The power of an immortal god could not be offended. As an immortal god, even if they signed an agreement forbidding the immortal god to attack, they were still an immortal god after all. Anyone who dared to provoke the immortal god could be killed by the immortal god. This was the right of a powerful immortal god. Hey, let's put aside our grudges for now. Come and have a taste of our natural-born immortal sect's wooden stem tea." The white-bearded old man looked at the scene and said calmly, "The Holy Medicine Immortal sect and the Holy Doctor Immortal sect were very powerful. However, the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate was also a middle-level immortal. Furthermore, their strength was unknown. Naturally, their natural-born immortal sect would not offend anyone." Wuxia cupped his fists at the white-bearded old man and sat at the side. The Flower Queen also sat beside Wuxia. "Grand Elder, this Lord Wuxia is here to ask for a few wood spirit fruits." The Flower Queen whispered to the white-bearded old man. "Yes." The white-bearded old man nodded his head. "Elder Mu, this time we are prepared to cooperate with the Holy Doctor Immortal sect in the aspect of spiritual herbs and elixirs. Your immortal sect has the most abundant spiritual herbs in the Jianghu. while our holy medicine immortal sect has the best alchemy skills in the entire Jianghu. If the two of us cooperate and monopolize the entire Jianghu's elixir market, it will be a huge benefit for our immortal sect. The green-robed old man took a glance at Wang Xian and spoke to the white-bearded old man. Mutual benefits. Naturally, we naturally agree to it. We will have to discuss the details in the future. The white-bearded old man said with a smile. Haha, of course. Mutual benefits. If we can monopolize the medicinal pills in the martial arts world, our influence can be imagined. The green-robed elder laughed loudly. Following that, he looked at the Xichang tree next to him. The divine tree of the esteemed immortal sect is still emitting a rich vitality. This time we have another matter. The tree demon that we have planted for 1,000 years has already taken shape. We hope that we can use the Xichang tree to awaken our spiritual wisdom. The tree demon has already taken shape. A hint of solemnity flashed in the white-bearded man's eyes. I didn't expect that you guys could actually nurture this kind of ancient divine tree to take shape. It's truly commendable. So what? The yield tree of our immortal sect has already withered, but the service tree of your immortal sect is still full of vitality. The green-robed old man slowly shook his head. The vitality is only on the surface. The service tree doesn't have much life left. Sigh. The white-bearded old man slowly stood up and looked at the divine tree beside him, sighing slightly. This kind of divine tree won't be able to support its growth with the density of the spiritual energy here. Once it is consumed, it will wither. If we cultivate tree demons. The flower queen looked at Hattori Changshu and said with a frown. Once it is used to cultivate tree demons, Hattori Changshu will completely wither. Our holy doctor immortal sect has 2 tree demons. If the natural-born immortal sect agrees, we will use them to pay the price of Hattori Changshu. The green-robed elder said with a smile. 2 tree demons. A bright light flashed in the white-bearded elder's eyes. The eyes of the 3 middle-aged elders on the side also lit up. Their faces revealed an expression of being moved. The soon-to-wither tree will be exchanged for a tree demon. Elder Mu. How about this transaction? The green-robed elder looked at their reactions and said indifferently. Sure. The white-bearded elder said without hesitation. Trading a soon-to-be-withered Changshu for a tree demon was a very worthwhile deal. It was even very profitable. Elder Mu, the tree demon is born with wisdom. It may need some more things. Elder Mu, please give it to us. The green-robed elder narrowed his eyes and said with a smile. What things? As long as we have them, we'll try our best to satisfy Elder Hua. The white-bearded elder said with a chuckle. Wood spirit fruit. We need some wood spirit fruits. The corner of the green-robed elder's mouth curled up slightly as he spoke to him. The white-bearded elder was slightly stunned. He frowned and looked at Wang Xian who was beside him. This wood spirit fruit is very important to us. Elder Mu, please gift it to us. The green-robed elder said with a smile once again. He looked at Wang Xian indifferently with a smile on his face. When Wang Xian heard the green-robed elder's words, his expression turned slightly awkward. A hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. This Dragon King, I'm really sorry. Elder Hua and the rest want the wood spirit fruit. We can only give it to him. Please forgive us. The white-bearded elder naturally knew how to make a choice. The tree demon was a terrifying creature. Once it was bred with intelligence, it would possess a combat strength comparable to that of a god. A god was extremely important to the natural gate of immortality. It was worth it to exchange for a withering tree. Chapter 757. Tit for tat 5/5. Wang Xian frowned when he heard the white-bearded old man's words. He was not surprised by the natural-born celestial sect's choice. He had nothing to do with them in the first place. Naturally, they would choose the side that was beneficial to him. Wang Xian stared coldly at the green-robed old man and the rest. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Haha, what's wrong, Dragon King? Are you blaming us? The green-robed elder laughed out loud when he saw Wang Xian's expression. He took a sip of tea with an indifferent expression and said, I want to take away what you want. You dare to kill the disciples of the Holy Medicine sect and the Holy Doctor sect. Today is just the beginning." As he spoke, he grinned and revealed a sinister expression. The white-bearded elder drank his tea and pretended not to see it. They couldn't say anything about this situation. The Queen of Flowers frowned and shook her head apologetically at Wang Xian. Wang Xian glanced at the green-robed old man coldly. He stood up and looked at Changshu. Changshu is able to activate the spiritual intelligence of plants. All plants within a few kilometers of Changshu will be affected by it. The reason why the trees of the natural-born celestial sect have become towering trees must have a lot to do with the evergreen tree. Furthermore, the reason why the spiritual herbs can grow quickly and safely is also due to the radiation from the evergreen tree. Wang Xian came to the side of the evergreen tree and said as he looked at the half-withered divine tree. "That's right. The reason why the natural-born celestial sect is able to accumulate such a terrifying amount of spiritual herbs is mostly due to the evergreen tree. However, it has gradually withered and will die in 10 years at most." The white-bearded old man did not want to offend Wang Xian. He walked to his side and replied, "I didn't expect this Dragon King to know so much." The green-robed old man smiled gently and raised his eyebrows as he chuckled. They stood up and looked at the divine tree as well. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. He extended his hand and placed it on the Vikhang tree slowly. Buzz. A feeling of wanting to absorb it came over. The corners of Wang Xian's mouth curled up slightly. With a thought, he slowly contacted the ancestral tree. A wave of vital and holy energy flowed from Wang Xian's chest along his arm and landed on the tree. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At this moment the tree suddenly started to move. It seemed to be very happy. "This is..." The white-bearded elder was slightly shocked. He stared at the tree with his eyes wide open. The 4 green-robed elders were shocked. They had a bad premonition. Walala! Suan Changshu's branches trembled gently as though he was expressing something. At this moment, the entire tree body suddenly emitted a faint green and green glow. The 2 glows flickered as the withered area slowly regained its vitality. In just a few minutes, the withered part of Suan Changshu's body had recovered by 1/3. "Lord Wang Xian, you actually managed to bring Qi Changshu back to life." The Queen of Flowers was stunned as a hint of excitement flashed across her eyes. The eyes of the white-bearded old man and the other 3 were also filled with a fiery glow. Qi Changshu was the sect-opening divine tree of the innate celestial sect. It was self-evident how important it was to them. Now that it had withered, they had no way to do anything about it. Such a divine tree could not be restored with the wood attribute. However, this Dragon King was actually able to restore Changshu's vitality. To them, this was simply a miracle. "Dragon King, can you restore Changshu's vitality?" The white-bearded old man repeated the question after the flower in excitement. "Yes." A hint of a smile appeared in Wang Xian's eyes. His gaze swept across the 4 immortals from the Holy Medicine Immortal sect and the Holy Doctor Immortal sect. "However, I want all of your wood spirit fruits." The white-bearded old man's eyes sparkled as he turned to look at the green-robed old man. "Elder Hua, I'm really sorry. Everyone knows the importance of serving Changshu." The green-robed old man and the 3 middle-aged old men beside him immediately turned solemn. Their faces were slightly embarrassed. This was not just serving Changshu but also the tree demon. The reason why the tree demon was called a demon was because it did not have intelligence. It could attack enemies and friends without distinguishing between them. They could only control them if Changshu opened up his intelligence. Otherwise, he could only be a tree demon guarding a place and could not be controlled. The importance of tree demons was not lower than their cooperation with the natural-born immortal sect. However, they also knew that the natural-born immortal sect would not give up on Changshu. Right now, they would not agree even if they had to exchange 4 or 5 tree demons with him. The sect-opening divine tree was not only useful to spiritual herbs and plants, but also to the disciples cultivating in this area. If the serving Changshu was restored, the natural-born immortal sect would definitely not dare to consume too much of its energy, and would not use it to activate the tree demon's spiritual wisdom. When Wang Xian heard the white-bearded old man's words, A smile appeared on his face. He returned to his seat and took a sip of tea. His gaze swept across the four green-robed old men. Today, I also want to cooperate with the natural-born celestial sect. Wang Xian looked at the white-bearded old man confidently and said with a smile, "Oh, may I know what Dragon King wants to cooperate with?" The white-bearded old man sat beside Wang Xian in a good mood and said with a smile. He became much closer to Wang Xian. Elixirs. The corners of Wang Xian's mouth curled up slightly as he looked at the four people from the Holy Medicine Celestial Sect and the Holy Doctor Celestial Sect. Your Holy Medicine Immortal Sect and the Holy Doctor Immortal Sect are cooperating with the Natural-Born Immortal Sect. I would like to ask, what is the fixed pill success rate and how should we distribute it? Hee. When the green-robed old man saw that Wang Xian dared to interfere in the pill cooperation, his eyes revealed a cold and disdainful look. The success rate of a grade 5 pill is 50%, a grade 6 pill is 40%, and a grade 7 pill is 30%. Also, the natural-born celestial sect produces spiritual herbs. We produce alchemists, so we will split the success rate 50 to 50. Our sect is the best in the entire martial arts world in terms of alchemy skills. Why are you the only one who wants to interfere? The green-robed elder stared at Wang Xian coldly with a face full of confidence. I don't think so when it comes to alchemy skills. Wang Xian shook his head slowly. The success rate of a grade 5 elixir is 60%, the success rate of a grade 6 elixir is 50%, the success rate of a grade 7 elixir is 40%, and the success rate is 50 to 50%. As he spoke, he turned to look at the white-bearded old man. These are the conditions for my cooperation. Bam! Kid, are you trying to stir up trouble on purpose? After Wang Xian stated the conditions, the green-robed old man stared at Wang Xian coldly and growled in a low voice. What? These are the conditions for my cooperation with the natural-born celestial sect. If you are not satisfied, you can give me better conditions. Wang Xian stared at the old man and said coldly, Our Holy Medicine Celestial Sect is the best in the world in terms of alchemy skills. The conditions we offer are also the most reasonable. How can you cooperate with them? You are spouting nonsense. A middle-aged man beside the green-robed old man stared at him with a dark expression. Wisps of flames were dancing in his eyes. Haha, the best in the world. That's just your arrogance. A bunch of arrogant fellows. Wang Xian stood up abruptly and showed a strong confidence on his face. It's just alchemy. Do you want to compete? As he spoke, he extended his right hand and a wisp of water-blue flame was emitted. Dual attributes. Water alchemy. The green-robed old man and the other three were stunned and looked shocked. Chapter 758. As the enemy, 1/5. Dual attributes were very rare among martial artists. Usually, no one would practice dual attributes. Two different attributes in the body would bring great trouble to a martial artist. However, according to the 5 elements 8 trigrams, through the symbiosis, a martial artist could practice dual attributes or even more attributes. The practice of dual attributes required a combination, such as wood creating fire, fire creating earth, earth creating metal, metal creating water, and water creating wood. However, there was one point. The cultivation speed of dual attributes was twice or even more difficult than that of a single attribute. In Jianghu, there were basically no people who cultivated dual attributes. Even if there were, it was because of special reasons. Just like the water and fire attributes of Ajaya, water and fire were incompatible. She couldn't cultivate and had to suppress one of them. After Wang Xian became an immortal, he would help her completely eliminate the water attribute. There were many ways to cultivate multiple attributes, but no one would choose to cultivate. Not to mention that an immortal god had dual attributes. This meant that he had to pay at least double the time of others to reach the level of an immortal god. However, a dual attribute martial artist was much stronger in battle than a single attribute martial artist. The green-robed old man and the other three looked at the water-blue flames dancing in Wang Xian's hands. The flames were emitting a terrifying temperature, and their expressions turned slightly ugly. The water refining technique was similar to the fire refining technique. They could also refine weapons and pills. Looking at Wang Xian, who was full of confidence, the four celestials from the Holy Doctor sect and the Holy Medicine sect had ugly expressions. The white-bearded old man and the few celestials from the innate celestial sect were also looking at Wang Xian in shock. Chang Shu, who could cure them with a wave of his hand, had dual attributes and also knew the powerful water refining technique. As for the split of the pills he mentioned, everyone would believe him when they saw his confident expression. There was no need for him to lie. If he couldn't do it, he would offend the natural-born celestial sect. It seems like you are going to make an enemy out of the Holy Medicine celestial sect and the Holy Doctor celestial sect. The green-robed elder stared at Wang Xian coldly. He was no longer as calm as before. Since you have already said that today is just the beginning, let's begin. Wang Xian picked up the teacup on the table and stared at the four of them with a smile. The atmosphere instantly froze. The green-robed old man and the other two looked extremely gloomy. The matter of the tree demon was ruined by Wang Xian. Now, even the cooperation with the natural-born celestial sect was ruined. Every matter was very important to the two celestial sections. The tree demon could increase the combat strength of their celestial sect by 1 middle-level immortal. And the cooperation of medicinal pills could allow their celestial sect to monopolize the market of medicinal pills. Since that's the case, I hope that you can withstand the strength of our two celestial sects in the future. The green-robed elder's eyes revealed a strong killing intent as he said coldly. Haha, all right. Wang Xian looked at them nonchalantly. I'll accompany you to the end any time. Humph. The four people from the Holy Medicine Immortal sect and the Holy Medicine Immortal sect stood up coldly. Elder Mu will take our leave. Hey, Elder Hua. We'll meet again in the future. Elder Hua smiled as he cupped his hands towards them. Let's go. The four of them had grim expressions as they spoke to the dozen of disciples at the side. Then they left immediately. Looking at their figures, a hint of coldness flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. Today, he could be considered to have formed a complete enmity with the Holy Medicine Immortal sect and the Holy Medicine Immortal sect. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself. You stopped me from obtaining the wood spirit fruit and even provoked me. Wang Xian felt a chill in his heart. Wang Xian was not the least bit worried about forming an enmity with the Holy Medicine Immortal sect and the Holy Medicine Immortal sect. His dragon sect had a total of more than 80 disciples. All of them were in the infant stage. As for the Holy Medicine Immortal sect and the Holy Medicine Immortal sect, they had countless disciples under them. If they were to really fight, even if the other party had two immortal sects, they would suffer heavy losses. At most, Wang Xian could just transfer some more subordinates from the Dragon Palace. However, the best way was to increase his own strength a little. After a year of closed-door cultivation, his dragon chi had reached more than 600 million. If his dragon chi increased by another 100 to 200 million, his strength would be comparable to a superior immortal. If he could complete the first change of the divine dragon, then his strength would truly be invincible on earth. Dragon King, the Holy Doctor Immortal sect and Holy Medicine Immortal sect are very strong. You must be careful in the future. The white-bearded elder looked at Wang Xian and reminded him kindly. Since you dare to offend them, you shouldn't be afraid of them. Wang Xian revealed a hint of confidence on his face. This confidence made the Celestials from the natural-born Immortal sect look surprised. The Holy Medicine Immortal sect and the Holy Doctor Immortal sect were united in strength. With the combined strength of the two immortal sects, they could be ranked in the top 3. It's good that you are mentally prepared, Dragon King. Regarding the matter of taking Changshu and the collaboration of the elixirs, are you prepared, Dragon King? The white-bearded elder looked at him expectantly. Take Changshu. I will be able to restore his vitality today. As for the pills, we can talk about it tomorrow. At that time, all of you can take a look at my alchemy skills. I should be staying at the soup cauldron for the next few days. Wang Xian spoke to them indifferently. There were a total of 5 immortals in the natural-born celestial sect. The white-bearded old man was a middle-level immortal with the strongest strength. His surname was Mu. They were very curious about Wang Xian's ability to regain his vitality after subduing Changshu. Therefore, Wang Xian gave them an excuse. When the few of them saw that he was unwilling to speak further, they were too embarrassed to get to the bottom of it. At the side, Fairy Centauria looked at Wang Xian, who was chatting happily with the celestial sect. She had a complicated expression on her face. She never expected that this young man would have such powerful strength. She looked at the crystal box on Wang Xian's back and her eyes were filled with envy once again. Dragon King, you can stay here for the next few days. If you need anything, you can come and look for me. Or you can tell 100 Flowers that we will stay at the next location. After chatting with Elder Mu and the rest for more than an hour, Flower Queen brought Wang Xian to a courtyard at the side and said to Wang Xian, "Thank you." Wang Xian nodded his head and walked into the room. The house was built entirely out of wood and was filled with a natural smell. The smell was very pleasant and it made one's mind clear. All the items were made of wood. Wang Xian looked at the wood spirit fruit in his hand and immediately walked into the room. Wow! Opening the ice soul stone, Wang Xian looked at the comfort inside and said, "I hope it's useful." The wood spirit fruit was a type of green fruit. It had a human shape and emitted a unique smell. There were a total of 6 wood spirit fruits in the natural-born celestial sect. All of them were given to him. Wang Xian placed the fruit into Shu Qing's mouth slowly. With a move of his palm, the fruit turned into liquid and fell into his mouth. When the wood spirit fruit entered his stomach, Wang Xian used dragon energy to melt it. In one go, Wang Xian placed all 6 wood spirit fruits into Shu Qing's mouth. After taking a look at Shu Qing, Wang Xian placed her on the bed. He took out his phone and contacted Xiao Yu. Now that Xiao Yu's injuries had recovered, he was prepared to return to Jiang City in 2 days. Meanwhile, Wang Xian also got Mo Qinglong to start planning for the Divine Dragon Refinery. Chapter 759 Empress, 2/5. The Divine Dragon Crafting Workshop was very important to Wang Xian, and even to the entire Dragon Palace, especially after today's cooperation with the natural-born celestial sect. They set up a crafting workshop to sell elixirs and spiritual artifacts. At the same time, they would undertake the refinement of elixirs and spiritual artifacts. To Wang Xian, this was an important method to gather resources. It was far more profitable than opening a shop in Jiang City. The spiritual herbs of the natural celestial sect were the most abundant among all the celestial sections. In fact, their spiritual herbs were comparable to the sum of more than 10 celestial sections. Using these spiritual herbs to refine elixirs to attract customers, he would establish the largest shop in the martial arts world to sell and refine elixirs. In the future, almost 80% of the spiritual herbs and elixirs would be circulated from his shop. By then, he would not be in need of elixirs at all. Just medicinal pills alone could increase his cultivation level. Currently, the 8 cauldrons were already open to the public. It was completely possible to set up shop in the cities of the immortal sections. Wang Xian ordered Mo Qinglong to purchase the pill shops. He wanted to fill all the shops in the 8 cauldrons within a month. Naturally, the cities of the Holy Medicine Immortal Sect and the Holy Doctor Immortal Sect could not be occupied. I still have a lot of metal materials that I obtained from the Yuding world. I can totally forge and sell them one by one. If the Divine Dragon Crafting Workshop can proceed smoothly, I will be able to advance to the strength of a superior immortal within 2 to 3 months at most. I can even complete the first transformation of the Divine Dragon transformation. Wang Xian sat in front of the bed and pondered. The only troublesome thing is that I have to forge all the spiritual weapons and elixirs myself. At this moment a weak voice was heard. Wang Xian was stunned. Following that, an excited expression appeared on his face. He quickly raised his head and looked at the bed. Xiao Xian. Shu Qing. I'm here. Wang Xian revealed an excited expression. When he saw that her arms were trembling slightly and she was shouting unconsciously, he revealed an excited expression. Boom! At this moment, a terrifying flame was emitted from her body. The flame was extremely terrifying. Every strand of flame seemed to be formed from lava, and was emitting a suffocating temperature. Wang Xian's expression changed slightly. With a wave of his arm, he suppressed it. However, Guan Shuqing's clothes were instantly burned, revealing her delicate body that was emitting a faint red glow. This flame can already threaten a middle-level immortal. Wang Xian's eyes revealed a hint of shock as he shouted softly, Shuqing, Shuqing. Okay. The wood spirit fruit seemed to be of great use to her. Guan Shuqing's eyelashes were trembling non-stop. Wang Xian held her hands nervously, waiting for her to wake up. Dao. Xiao Xian. A few minutes later, Guan Shuqing slowly woke up. A terrifying flame flashed across her eyes. Shuqing, you're finally awake. Seeing that Guan Shuqing had woken up, Wang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. How are you feeling now? Are you feeling unwell? Have I slept for a long time? Guan Shuqing looked at Wang Xian. Her eyes were filled with confusion as she muttered to herself. You've been asleep for more than a year. Do you feel unwell? Wang Xian asked immediately. The wood spirit fruit was a grade 8 spiritual herb. With 6 wood spirit fruits, it would be of great use even if an immortal were to consume them. No, I feel that my body is filled with strength. Guan Shuqing shook her head and extended her arms lovingly. Xiao Xian, give me a hug. Hee hee. When Wang Xian saw that Guan Shuqing had completely recovered, a happy expression appeared on his face. He looked at her body and smiled perversely. Guan Shuqing seemed to have sensed something. She looked at her body, rolled her eyes at him, and put her arms down. Shuqing, come and hug me. Wang Xian quickly stretched out his arms and hugged her immediately. His heart was filled with excitement. You're so annoying. Guan Shuqing rolled her eyes at him and didn't reject him. Her strong love turned into soft water. The awakening of Shuqing made him excited. He jumped onto the bed and threw his clothes away with a wave of his arm. What followed was naturally a great battle. Guan Shuqing closed her eyes and cooperated with him with a smile on her face. However, half an hour later, the excited Guan Shuqing's eyes moved. At the center of her brows, there was a faint image of a vermilion bird flickering with light. Oh! Feng Yuan was the empress of the extraordinary continent's Feng dynasty, and also the #1 empress of the extraordinary continent. The Feng family of the Phoenix dynasty had a trace of the vermilion bird's bloodline, and their powerful fire control ability allowed their ancestors to create the powerful Phoenix dynasty. In the 2120 years of the Phoenix dynasty, the dynasty was plagued by internal and external problems, and it was on the verge of collapse. This year Feng Yuan was born. The Feng Yuan that was born was not in human form, but in the form of a vermilion bird. Feng Yuan was known as the vermilion bird reincarnation. She possessed terrifying cultivation talent. 15 years later, the Feng dynasty was plagued with internal problems. The Fan Kings revolted, and 1,000,000 super experts attempted to invade the palace. That year Feng Yuan was 15 years old. At the age of 15, she swept through 1,000,000 experts with the appearance of an expert. Feng Yuan appeared out of nowhere and killed all the people in the Feng dynasty who were uneasy. She stabilized the rule of the Feng dynasty. This year, the 15-year-old Feng Yuan became the emperor and became the first empress of the Feng dynasty. All the officials submitted to her, and all the people worshipped her. At the age of 18, Feng Yuan led her troops and swept across a radius of 10,000 li. Many dynasties submitted to her. The #1 empress of the continent was born. Her strength was monstrous and her majesty was overwhelming. At the age of 35, Feng Yuan's cultivation technique had reached the peak, and she needed to undergo nirvana. During the period of the Phoenix's nirvana, they were at their weakest. However, during this period of time they were betrayed by their clan. Feng Yuan risked her life to escape with a drop of her blood essence. In the end, she fainted and her soul fell into a deep sleep. With her injuries from before, it would require an extremely terrifying amount of energy to wake up. However, some time ago, her soul woke up and found that she was occupying a body. Her powerful physical body and her weak soul simply couldn't support it. According to her estimation, she would need more than 10 years to repair herself to be able to support this body. However, today, she suddenly felt a rich soul nourishment enter her body, greatly shortening the time for her to wake up. However, at this time, he discovered that there was another soul in this body, which made her heart sink slightly. The soul was already abnormally mysterious. If it was her in the past, she could have directly occupied this body with powerful soul power. But now, her soul was on par with the other soul, and they might even be together. This made her face slightly embarrassed. Secondly, because of the weakness of her soul, there were uncertain factors when two souls controlled the body. It was possible that the body would be controlled by the other body, or it was possible that the body would be controlled by her. When she sensed that the other soul had gone out and that something had happened with a man on the bed, her soul immediately trembled. Fortunately, she only watched from the perspective of a bystander and did not feel anything. In the future, when her cultivation level increased, she could just find another body. However, just as she was shielding her soul, that uncertain factor appeared. Chapter 760. Below Empress, 3/5. A vermilion bird pattern flickered between Guan Shuqing's brows. Feng Wuan took over the body. In an instant, the dignified empress of the transcendent world was stunned. She had been cultivating since birth, becoming empress at the age of 15 and empress at the age of 30. She had been imposing all her life. There was not a single man in the entire continent who was worthy of her. Moreover, Feng Wuan, who had a cold personality, a noble body and a suffocating majesty, had no romantic feelings at all. In the entire continent, there weren't many men who dared to look her in the eye. The majesty of the empress made all the men feel ashamed in front of her. But now she was actually lying under a man, and it was a man who was as weak as an ant in his eyes. This caused a hint of coldness and killing intent to flash across Feng Wuan's eyes. The pressure of the empress slowly gathered. "Pa baby, come up, hee hee." However, at this moment, a frivolous voice was heard. Following that, the man moved violently. In an instant, the empress's dignity was drowned out. Her face was extremely red. However, this feeling made her. For a moment, Feng Wuan's expression changed drastically. Wang Xian didn't know that Xu Qing, who was under him, had already been occupied by another soul. He was prepared to release the pain of missing her for more than a year. 5 minutes later, Feng Wuan's thoughts were drowned out. She closed her eyes tightly. 1 hour, 2 hours. Finally, the two of them laid on the bed. Wang Xian was in a very happy mood. "Xu Qing, you have no idea. I have missed you so much over the past year. Today you are finally awake." Wang Xian stretched out his hand and hugged Guan Shuqing. Suddenly he frowned slightly. The Guan Shuqing in front of him suddenly gave her a very unfamiliar feeling. The flames flickering between her brows gave her a special kind of dignity. Looking at her eyes, Wang Xian was shocked. His expression changed drastically. "You are not Xu Qing." Feng Wuan's expression changed when she heard Wang Xian's words. She had no idea how to talk to the man in front of her. She frowned. "Who exactly are you?" Wang Xian's expression was extremely awkward. He stared at her and asked, "I am that drop of vermilion bird essence blood." Feng Wuan's expression darkened. "Where is Xu Qing? What did you do to her?" Wang Xian's expression changed drastically. He revealed a cold expression. "Xiao Xian, Xiao Xian." Suddenly, the flame between her eyebrows disappeared slowly and Guan Shuqing's panicked voice was heard. Wang Xian was stunned and he was a little stunned. Looking at her eyes, he knew that it was Guan Shuqing this time. "Xu Qing, are you all right?" he asked hurriedly. "Xiao Xian, there seems to be another person in my body. Just now, when we were together, I suddenly returned to my body and another soul took over my body." Guan Shuqing said to Wang Xian in panic. When Wang Xian heard her words, his scalp went numb. "Xu Qing, can you contact her?" Wang Xian said with an embarrassed expression. Anyone who had an additional soul in their body would be horrified. "She is the soul from the vermilion bird essence blood that you absorbed back then. See if you can contact her." Wang Xian said to Guan Shuqing with a solemn face. "Contact." Guan Shuqing took a deep breath when she heard Wang Xian's words. She closed her eyes and tried to contact her. Wang Xian felt a little uncomfortable when he saw Guan Shuqing's eyebrows trembling non-stop. There was actually a wisp of soul in the vermilion bird's blood essence. This was something that he didn't expect. Phew! After a few minutes, Guan Shuqing suddenly heaved a sigh of relief and opened her eyes. How is it? I've contacted Xiao Xian. Sometimes it might be me and sometimes it might be her. But now we can sense what is happening outside. Guan Shuqing said with a bad expression. Is she sure that she can reconstruct her physical body just because she's strong? Wang Xian frowned and asked. She said that she can. As long as she has a drop of blood essence and sufficient energy, she can be reborn. Guan Shuqing nodded. Damn it. Luckily she's a woman. If she's a man, I have to think of a way to kill her. Wang Xian's expression softened a little. As long as she was a woman and didn't endanger Guan Shuqing's life, it would be easy to solve the problem. If it was a man, then Wang Xian was really fucked up. In a situation like the one just now, he suddenly changed his soul. If it was a man, that would be so satisfying. Guan Shuqing's expression was also a little strange. She naturally knew what happened just now. Sai, I didn't expect there to be such a problem. Shuqing, don't worry. I will solve it for you as soon as possible. Wang Xian shook his head and sighed. Xiao Xian, I feel that I'm very strong now. Guan Shuqing nodded. Although she had an additional soul in her body, it wasn't harmful at all. She heaved a sigh of relief. Go to sleep. Rest well. Wang Xian kissed Guan Shuqing and held her in his arms. Guan Shuqing also hugged her slowly. Get lost. However, at this moment, a cold and dignified voice was heard. Wang Xian instantly felt a strong force pushing towards him. Fuck. Wang Xian couldn't help but curse. He stared at Guan Shuqing with an embarrassed expression. At this moment, a flame appeared between Guan Shuqing's eyebrows again. The aura on her body had completely changed. Her eyes were filled with dignity as she stared at Wang Xian without any emotion. This is my wife's body. Wang Xian's expression was awkward. Get out. Feng Luan waved her arm and a flame appeared. She grabbed Wang Xian's arm and threw him out of the bed. Wang Xian's expression changed instantly. His body was thrown out without any resistance. Upper-level immortal. Wang Xian's face was extremely embarrassed. The strength that Shuqing had displayed just now was at most a middle-level immortal. However, this woman was able to unleash the strength of an upper-level immortal. Flame Gate. Feng Luan waved her arm and the surroundings of the bed were instantly surrounded by flames, forming a curtain-like object. Fuck. When Wang Xian saw this scene, his face instantly turned black. Feng Luan, who was lying on the bed, was breathing rapidly. She slowly closed her eyes. Wang Xian stood outside without any clothes. He looked at her helplessly and realized that he was no match for her. Shaking his head, he waved his arm and a wooden bed appeared. He laid on it helplessly. Xiao Xian. However, a familiar voice suddenly came from the bed in the middle of the night. Wang Xian immediately got up, got into bed, and hugged Guan Shuqing. Upon seeing this scene, Guan Shuqing couldn't help but smile. Chapter 761. Mighty Empress, 4/5. In one night, Wang Xian was thrown out twice. This made him extremely embarrassed. Fortunately, it was Shuqing who took over his body in the morning. She walked out of the room with Wang Xian happily. Oh, this place is so beautiful. When they arrived at the courtyard, Guan Shuqing looked around happily and exclaimed in surprise. This is the natural gate of immortality. During the year that you slept, the 9 Cauldrons world has already appeared. The area that we are in is the Tang Cauldron. Wang Xian explained to Guan Shuqing. Celestial sect? It's really like a fairyland. Guan Shuqing raised her head and looked at her surroundings. There were all kinds of plants around her and she looked very beautiful. Dragon King, your breakfast. At this moment, Fairy Flower's voice came from outside the door. Come in. Wang Xian replied to her. Fairy Flower was holding some spirit fruits and vegetables that contained spiritual energy in her hands as she walked into the courtyard. He was stunned when he saw Guan Shuqing. She was dressed in fiery red clothes, had an exquisite face, and had a smile on her face. She was a beauty that was not inferior to him. In fact, Flower Fairy felt that her temperament was far superior to his. "It's here." Flower Fairy placed her breakfast on the stone table at the side. She glanced at Wang Xian and Guan Shuqing and said, "Dragon King, our sect leader will bring you to the herb garden to have a look and discuss the matter of cooperation." "Okay." Wang Xian nodded. "I'll be there soon." "All right." Fairy Flower took her leave and Wang Xian and Shuqing ate breakfast together. During the meal, Wang Xian briefly told Shuqing about the current world. This made her open her mouth slightly and a surprised expression appeared on her face. After breakfast, Wang Xian went straight to the place where the Queen of Flowers was staying. "Dragon King, my wife has woken up. It seems that the wood spirit fruit is quite useful." The Flower Queen looked at Guan Shuqing and said in surprise, "Yes, thank you." "No need. Dragon King, you have cured us of Changshu. To our immortal sect, a few grade 8 spirit fruits can't compare to you." The Flower Queen shook her head. "Let's go, Dragon King. I'll bring you to the herb garden to take a look." "All right." Wang Xian nodded his head and followed the Flower Queen into the herb garden. When he arrived at the herb garden of the natural-born celestial sect, he was slightly stunned. This was the largest herb garden he had ever seen. In the entire herb garden, there were at least tens of thousands of different types of spiritual herbs. Apart from spiritual herbs, there were also spiritual trees. It was not an exaggeration to say that the value of these herb gardens was simply immeasurable. As expected of the natural celestial sect that has the most spiritual herbs among all the celestial sections, it is no wonder that the 4 celestial immortals from the Holy Doctor Celestial sect and Holy Medicine Celestial sect came here personally. Wang Xian looked at this herb garden with a slight sigh. If the entire herb garden belonged to him and was refined into a medicinal pill, he might be able to complete the first change in the divine dragon realm directly. For a moment he even had the urge to rob. "Haha, Dragon King, this is just our ordinary herb garden. The place where the grade 7 and grade 8 spiritual herbs are planted is in a different location." The Supreme Elder of the Innate Immortal Sect, Elder Mu, said with a face full of pride. "This was the accumulation of their sect for 1,000 years. Looks like I will need a branch that can serve the evergreen tree before I leave," Wang Xian thought to himself. He walked to the side and swept his gaze across the spiritual herbs. "Elder Mu, how many spiritual herbs do you plan to take out?" 2/3. We need to keep some for emergencies. The rest will be used to refine pills." Elder Mu looked at Wang Xian. "Even if it's 2/3, it's still a considerable amount. How long will it take for the Dragon King to refine it?" "Very soon." The corners of Wang Xian's mouth curled up slightly. He waved his arm and 25 grade 5 spiritual herbs flew into his hand instantly. He smiled at Elder Mu and the rest. Wang Xian spread out his hands and a water curtain appeared in front of him. Following that, the spiritual herbs melted rapidly. He stared at the drops of liquid with his sharp eyes and quickly assembled and condensed them. "Condense!" With a wave of his arm, 5 grade 5 medicinal pills appeared in front of him instantly. The entire process took less than 2 minutes. Elder Mu, Hua Ho Ho, and the other 3 celestials by the side opened their mouths slightly. Shock was written all over their faces. "Amazing, amazing. It will take at least 20 minutes for the old man peony from the True Martial Immortal Academy to refine a level 5 medicinal pill. Furthermore, it might not even be 100% success rate. Even with the help of the alchemy furnace from the Holy Medicine Immortal sect, they don't have such a fast speed and success rate." Elder Mu looked at Wang Xian and said with a sigh. Although the Innate Immortal sect had more spiritual herbs, they couldn't refine medicinal pills. Even if they were to find someone else to refine them, they wouldn't be as insane as Wang Xian. The few immortals from the natural-born immortal sect looked at each other and decided that they would befriend this Dragon King in the future. At this moment, a soft snort came from the side. A slender and fair palm waved forward and spiritual herbs flew over. The spiritual herbs that flew over turned into liquid under the encirclement of the flames. The pair of slender and fair arms rippled slightly. The spiritual liquid condensed into medicinal pills and fell into the palm. Elder Mu was stunned. The Queen of Flowers was stunned. The other 3 celestials were also stunned. Even Wang Xian was staring at the medicinal pills in his hand with his mouth agape. Grade 6 medicinal pills, 5 grade 6 medicinal pills. From the moment he took them out to the moment they fell into his hand, the entire process had turned into medicinal pills. Just now, Wang Xian was still acting pretentious as he refined a grade 5 medicinal pill in less than 2 minutes with his water refining technique. Now Guanshuqing knows she should be a woman named Feng Luan. She refined a grade 6 medicinal pill in less than half a minute. It was obvious who was superior and who was inferior. It was as though she had completely defeated Wang Xian. This caused his expression to turn slightly ugly. He knew that this woman was deliberately provoking him. Your wife's alchemy skills are so strong. She can actually refine pills so quickly without using an alchemy furnace. Elder Mu looked at the pill in Guanshuqing's hand with a face full of shock, feeling somewhat incredulous. In addition to her terrifying alchemy skills, Elder Mu felt a powerful flame energy from the moment she made her move. This energy made him feel apprehensive. A middle-level immortal was at least a middle-level immortal, and it was possible that he was a superior-level immortal. This made Elder Mu slightly shocked. No wonder he was not afraid of the Holy Medicine Immortal Sect and the Holy Doctor Immortal Sect at all. Just their strength alone was enough for him to not be afraid of them. It's fine, it's fine. Wang Xian looked at the flame flickering between his brows and the majestic Feng Luan. He smiled awkwardly. Dragon King, we have complete confidence in your strength. I believe that our cooperation will definitely be able to monopolize the entire elixir market. Elder Mu said to Wang Xian with a smile. Don't worry. Wang Xian nodded his head and looked at the majestic Feng Luan beside him. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He was just thinking that it would be troublesome if he were to refine so many elixirs on his own. Now it seemed that there were laborers. Chapter 762, Mysterious Sea 5/5. Your alchemy skills are amazing. Walking out of the herb garden, Wang Xian looked at Feng Luan, who was emitting a flame from her glabella, and said softly, "Oh." To U.S. vermilion birds, alchemy is a piece of cake. Feng Luan said to Wang Xian coldly and arrogantly. Wang Xian possessed the water of origin and the fire of origin. In the world, the vermilion bird was the king of flames. Even if it was a fire-attributed divine dragon, its control of flames was slightly inferior to that of the vermilion bird. Therefore, even without an alchemy furnace, Feng Luan was able to refine level 6 pills at a terrifying speed. Of course, this was also largely due to her expertise in alchemy. Well, since you can refine pills so quickly, can you help me refine pills? Consider it as a reward for occupying my wife's body. The reason why you are able to wake up now is mainly because of us. Without us, you would still be a drop of blood essence. Help me refine some pills as a form of repayment to us. Wang Xian said to Feng Luan shamelessly. This caused Feng Luan to frown slightly. Just as Wang Xian said, if it weren't for them, she wouldn't know when she would be able to revive. As a prideful empress, she didn't like to owe others favors. Sure, I'll treat it as a repayment. After hesitating for a while, she nodded her head slowly. All right. Wang Xian narrowed his eyes and revealed a faint smile on his face. With such a perverted alchemy master, it won't be long before all the spiritual herbs from the natural-born celestial sect can be refined into pills. Wang Xian thought to himself. With a thought, he suddenly asked, do you know how to refine weapons? Yes. Feng Luan nodded her head expressionlessly. Can I refine a level 13 spiritual weapon? One that is engraved with an array formation? Wang Xian asked with anticipation. I can even refine a weapon at the return to void level, let alone an extraordinary weapon. Feng Luan looked at Wang Xian proudly. However, she felt that she had gone too far. With my current strength, I can only forge some simple weapons that can inscribe arrays. Return to void stage? Extraordinary? Wang Xian silently memorized the realm that Feng Luan mentioned. This reminded him of the star attraction disc. The star attraction disc was also an item of the extraordinary stage. This transcendence should be a realm above his current level. It was also the realm that he attained after completing the first transformation of the Divine Dragon transformation. As for the return to void, it might be the realm after transcendence. Can you tell me about the method to inscribe the array formation? Wang Xian rubbed his hands and said to Feng Luan. Inscribing the array formation and refining a level 13 spirit weapon was what Wang Xian had been looking forward to all this while. However, he couldn't find any secret manuals to inscribe an array. Simple. She nodded her head coldly and didn't say anything else. Wang Xian looked at her helplessly. This empress of the so-called extraordinary continent had a very cold and arrogant character. She didn't even want to bother with him. She was as cold as ice. This was a Tsundra empress. After returning to the courtyard, Wang Xian stayed there for the next few days. Wang Xian stayed in the natural-born celestial sect to refine elixirs every day. When Feng Luan took over his body, he also helped to refine elixirs. The speed of the two of them was extremely fast. In just 3 to 4 days, they had already refined half of the spiritual herbs in the natural-born celestial sect. With the communication between Guan Shuqing and Feng Luan, Wang Xian finally succeeded in inscribing the array formation. According to Feng Luan, the array formation on a weapon could not be called an array formation. Instead, it was called an inscription formation. Before Wang Xian opened for business, he was preparing to conduct a huge publicity. He was preparing to hold an auction on the floating island. There would be a few grade 13 spirit weapons and some grade 7 or even grade 8 elixirs being auctioned there. He believed that the immortals and gods would also be attracted here. At that time, the Divine Dragon Refining Workshop would also become famous. It would also be a good choice to be a merchant quietly in the future. Eldest senior brother and the others are preparing to go to the mysterious sea tomorrow. Are you going or not? Yes, of course I'm going. The mysterious sea is connected to the underground sea, and there are countless powerful undersea creatures living there. Hunting powerful undersea creatures can be sold for a lot of spirit stones. Spirit stones are secondary. If we are lucky enough to encounter the earth starfish, we will be rich. On the 5th day, Wang Xian took the time to take a break to stroll around the natural-born celestial sect with Guan Shuqing. They heard the conversation of the natural-born celestial sect disciples. Oh right, Xiaoxian, do you want to go to the mysterious sea to take a look? I heard there are many treasures there. Guan Shuqing heard the discussion at the side and said to Wang Xian. The mysterious sea? What is that place? Wang Xian asked curiously. You don't even know about it. I've been sleeping for so long and you still don't know about it? Guan Shuqing rolled her eyes at him. The mysterious sea is an inland lake in the area of Jiding. However, it has an area of 100 kilometers. Hence, it is also known as the sea. It is said that this inland sea is connected to the underground sea. The depth of the water is extremely deep, and there are many creatures and treasures in it. There are many things about the mysterious sea on the Jianghu website these few days. There is a type of terrestrial starfish that can increase one's lifespan after eating. It is very expensive. Is that so? Terrestrial starfish can increase one's lifespan. This is a fatal temptation for anyone. Wang Xian was slightly stunned. He really did not know about the mysterious sea. He had been refining pills and weapons for the past few days and did not pay attention to the things on the Jianghu website. An earth starfish that could increase one's lifespan was comparable to a miracle drug to humans. However, it did not have much of an attraction to Wang Xian. As long as he did not die, his lifespan was almost endless. Connect to the underground sea. However, Wang Xian was filled with curiosity about the underground sea. According to current scientific research, there was an underground sea on Earth. Moreover, the seawater was comparable to the surface. This was also unexpected. There was a huge space on Earth. This space might not be as large as the surface of the sea, but it was definitely comparable to the surface. It was unknown if there were any living things in the underground sea. However, water was the source of life. The possibility of having living things was very high. Wang Xian took out his phone and looked at Jiding's area. It's near Tang Yinshuan's house. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and hesitated for a moment. A powerful aquatic creature that could increase one's lifespan was indeed attractive to him. This type of fish that could increase one's lifespan might not be useful to him, but if he could catch it, he could sell it at a high price. Why don't we go over and take a look? Wang Xian looked at Guan Shuqing and asked hesitantly. Sure. I want to take a look at what's happening outside as well. Guan Shuqing nodded her head with interest. All right, the concoction of the elixir is almost done. Let's go over and take a look. In fact, to many people, lifespan was priceless. The appearance of such fish in the mysterious sea would naturally attract all martial artists in the martial arts world. Dragon King, take the airship of our natural-born celestial sect. Flower Fairy said to Wang Xian. All right. Wang Xian nodded his head. An airship was a type of flying device created by the puppet celestial sect. Its speed was even faster than an airplane and was comparable to the flying speed of an infant-stage powerhouse. An airship could carry a few hundred people. Almost all the celestial sects would purchase airships from the puppet celestial sect. Following that, they came to an open space. An airship that was more than 10 meters in size and 7 to 8 meters in width was located in the middle. Martial arts is really magical. The appearance of the Eight Cauldron world has changed the world a lot. Wang Xian looked at the airship that only existed in novels with a slight sigh. Ignorant. A slightly disdainful voice came from the side. Wang Xian turned his head and looked at Guan Shuqing, who was emitting flames between her brows. He shook his head slowly. Not only did this phoenix take over his wife's body, she also had a rather bad temper. It was just that she and Shuqing would exercise for 1 or 2 hours every night. Sometimes her soul would come out. Who asked you to take over Shuqing's body? And the Empress? Didn't she enjoy it back then? Wang Xian looked at her with a strange expression. He didn't know what the so-called Empress really looked like. The airship took off. There was a disciple driving in front of them. They flew quickly toward the mysterious sea. The mysterious sea was located in Jiding's territory, and Jiding had 3 immortal sections: Ji Clan, Thunder Clan, and Wind Smoke Immortal Sect. The Wind Smoke Immortal Sect was the one that attracted the most attention. It was an immortal sect that was made up entirely of women. Cheng Qingcheng, who was ranked first on the list of top beauties, was the most outstanding disciple of the Wind Smoke Immortal Sect. We're here. The mysterious sea is in front of us. At present, the mysterious sea has been occupied by the disciples of the immortal sects. The airship arrived at the bottom of the mysterious sea, and a dark blue and somewhat black seabed appeared in their line of sight. Black was not the color of water, but the color of an abyss. It was said that the mysterious sea was connected to the underground sea, and its depth could reach tens of thousands of meters or even hundreds of thousands of meters. It was a real abyss. Because of the bottomless abyss, the water looked black. In the mysterious sea, there were some unique aquatic plants that made the entire sea look very strange. Wang Xian contacted Tang Yinshuan in advance. Dragon King. The airship had just stopped in an empty space when a draconid who was protecting Tang Yinshuan rushed over and shouted at Wang Xian. Where is Tang Yinshuan? Wang Xian asked him. Miss Tang is conducting an experiment. Miss Tang said that you should head over as soon as possible. The draconid said to Wang Xian. Experiment. Let's go and take a look. Wang Xian revealed a curious expression. He took a glance at Feng Luan, who was still occupying her physical body. After informing the people from the innate immortal sect, he flew towards the mysterious sea. The disciples from the innate immortal sect did not follow him. Instead, they flew towards the other direction of the mysterious sea. Chapter 764. Strong sound waves to attract fish, 2/5. Ring ring ring. Before he got close, Wang Xian heard a series of unique sounds. The sounds were very strange and had a special attraction. Sound of the soul. Feng Wuan's surprised voice flashed across her eyes as she looked ahead. At this moment, Wang Xian, Feng Wuan, and the Draconid were flying on the surface of the ocean like an abyss as they looked into the distance. A beautiful green figure was standing on the peculiar aquatic plants on the surface of the sea. A beautiful zither was floating in front of her. The sound came from the zither. Wang Xian was also looking at Tang Yinxian curiously. Compared to the previous zither sound, her current zither sound was much more unpleasant. It was even a little off-key. Yinxian. Wang Xian flew over and shouted at Tang Yinxian. He looked around and realized that the Draconid was not around. Wang Xian. Tang Yinxian smiled when she saw Wang Xian coming over. She took a glance at Feng Wuan and greeted with a smile, "Shuqing, you're awake." However, Feng Wuan was in control of her physical body now. She ignored Tang Yinxian and looked at her curiously. This caused Tang Yinxian to be slightly stunned. "Yinxian, why are you playing the zither here? Where are the other Draconids?" Wang Xian looked at him curiously and asked. "I'm doing an experiment." Tang Yinxian moved and came to Wang Xian's side. She pointed at a fish that was tied up. "This is an earth star fish that we caught. It's tied up with a rope. Look." As she spoke, she stared at the zither in front of her with both hands. Ring, ring, ring. A very special sound was heard. Following that, the earth star fish swam towards her rapidly. Wang Xian was slightly stunned as he stared at the earth star fish that was wagging its tail. Half of its body was khaki and the other half was green. There was a bump on its head and it was also khaki and green in color. Voice of the soul, longevity fish. The flames at the corner of Feng Wuan's eyes throbbed. Her eyes were filled with flames as she stared at the ocean abyss beneath her. A thoughtful look appeared on her face. "What are you doing? Attracting?" Wang Xian revealed a look of surprise as he said to Tang Yinxian. "Yes, attracting. Through some communication with it, I can use sound waves to attract it over. If the experiment is completed, I can use sound waves to attract the earth star fish over." Tang Yinxuan's eyes lit up as she said, "Through this method, we will be able to obtain many earth star fish. However, the current attraction is still a little off. I can only be certain when the Draconids catch another earth star fish." When Wang Xian heard her words, he looked at Tang Yinxian in astonishment. "If we succeed, how many earth star fish will we be able to attract? Within a radius of 10 kilometers with my cultivation, I can at most cover a radius of 10 kilometers. Tang Yinxian hesitated for a moment before replying. "A radius of 10 kilometers is completely enough. If we succeed, we can capture more than half of the earth star fish in the entire mysterious ocean." Wang Xian's face lit up. The value of an earth star fish was comparable to a grade 6 elixir. If there were hundreds or thousands of them, it would definitely be a terrifying income. If he exchanged them for elixirs, he could easily become a superior immortal. "Dragon King, Miss Tang, we've caught an earth star fish." At this moment, Draconids emerged from the bottom of the sea. One of them held an earth star fish in his hand and said, "We've finally caught the second one. It's really difficult to catch only 2 in 3 days." A smile appeared on Tang Yinxuan's face. She took out a rope from her interspatial ring and tied it up. This earth star fish was only the size of a palm, and it contained a very strong life force. The earth star fish had an extremely fast speed in the water, and it was very small. It was very difficult to catch it. If not for the fact that the 10 Draconids were all at the infant stage and had the divine dragon bloodline, it would be considered pretty good if they could catch one. The mysterious sea was too big and too deep. Moreover, there were some powerful creatures in the water, and some of them were comparable to the infant stage. There are 2 earth star fish here. I can ensure that I can attract them over. However, I need to test it out for a while." Tang Yinxian continued to speak to Wang Xian. She took out the zither and began to test it out. Wang Xian watched from the side with a smile. If this was successful, it would be considered a considerable profit. "I want to go to the bottom of the sea to take a look." At this moment the voice of Feng Luan suddenly came from the side. Wang Xian looked at her and frowned slightly. Why are you going to the bottom of the sea? These fish are called longevity fish. There are such fish in the Sea of Longevity in our super-developed continent. Feng Luan said something that puzzled Wang Xian. You discovered my blood essence in this world. It's possible that there is some connection between the two worlds. I want to go and take a look. As Feng Luan spoke, her body moved and she flew directly to the bottom of the sea. You! Wang Xian's expression changed slightly. His body moved and he grabbed her body. He stared at her coldly and said, "This is not your body." Feng Luan was stunned when she saw Wang Xian grabbing her arm. Don't worry. Nothing will happen. There are no transcendents in your world. No one can keep me here. This is very important to me. Wang Xian heard the helplessness in her eyes and his heart softened. He stared at her with a twinkle in his eyes. You have to come up in half an hour. Otherwise, I will think of a way to suppress the fire energy in Xu Qing's body in the future. All right. Feng Luan frowned slightly and nodded. Wang Xian let go of her arm and nodded at her. She moved and flew directly to the bottom of the sea at a terrifying speed. Is there a connection with her world? Wang Xian frowned slightly. If there was a connection with the supernatural world she mentioned, he might have to step into that world in the future. Ring ring ring. It's a success, it's a success. Just as he was thinking, Tang Yinxuan's happy voice came from the side. Wang Xian looked over and noticed that Tang Yinxian was moving while playing the zither. The earth starfish had been following by her side as if they were attracted by a strong force. Do you want to give it a try now? Wang Xian moved to Tang Yinxuan's side and said to her. Sure. Tang Yinxian nodded her head heavily and looked at the surrounding draconids. All of you enter the water and observe the area within a 5-kilometer radius. See if there are any earth starfish swimming over. Yes. The group of draconids nodded their heads and entered the bottom of the sea. Phew. Tang Yinxian took a deep breath and glanced at Wang Xian. Give it a try. I'll stand guard by the side for you. Wang Xian said with a smile. Okay. Tang Yinxian nodded her head and placed her hands on the zither. A special sound rang out. There was a special rhythm to the sound. When it landed on the water, it emitted waves that spread out in the surroundings. Chapter 765. Tang Yinxuan's Pursuer 1/5. Ring 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 ring. One after another sounds were heard. This special sound could be heard within a radius of 10 kilometers. Wang Xian didn't know what talent Tang Yinxian had obtained from the dolphins, but this special sound wave was extraordinary. His eyes were flashing with red and blue light as he looked at the surrounding seabed. With his current eyesight, he could penetrate a distance of dozens of kilometers without the obstruction of powerful energy. As his gaze swept across the area, he could see clearly for dozens of kilometers. It's here. It's really here? At this moment, a hint of surprise flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. In his vision, a palm-sized earth starfish was swimming over. 1, 2, 3. Wang Xian scanned his surroundings and looked at the earth starfish one by one. This was simply robbing money. Someone is following us. Suddenly, Wang Xian frowned slightly and looked at the dozen or so people following behind an earth starfish. There are 3 of them. I can sense them. Tang Yinxian revealed a happy expression on her face. Yes, they are here. The speed of the earth starfish was very fast. In less than 10 seconds, they had already appeared 100 meters in front of them. Wang Xian waved his arm and the seawater immediately wrapped around the earth starfish and held it in his hand. That's great. Tang Yinxian revealed a smile on her face and the sound of the zither stopped. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, more than 10 human figures emerged from the bottom of the sea. A group of middle-aged young men looked at Wang Xian. When they saw the 3 earth starfish in his hands, they were slightly stunned. Miss Tang. However, very soon, a young man standing in the middle greeted Tang Yinxian, who was standing at the side with some pleasant surprise. Yes. Tang Yinxuan's gaze swept across the crowd. She frowned slightly and nodded her head slowly. Our young clan leader has been searching for Miss Tang Yinxian with great difficulty. I didn't expect Miss Tang to be here. The other young men exchanged glances and said to Tang Yinxian with a smile, I have something to do here. I hope I won't be disturbed. Tang Yinxian said with an indifferent expression. Oh. The group of young men looked at Tang Yinxian. Their eyes swept past Wang Xian and narrowed slightly. Since that's the case, we shall not disturb you anymore. As the group of young men spoke, their eyes flickered as they flew to the side. Tang Yinxian frowned and looked at Wang Xian. Wang Xian, I will attract the attention of others by using sound waves to attract the earth starfish. It's fine. Wang Xian shook his head and looked at the group of young men who had left. Do you know them? They are from the Thunder Clan. My family is relatively close to Jiding's world. After Jiding appeared, the Thunder Clan sought out my father for the development of the real world. Now that my father has joined the Thunder Clan, he is helping to manage some businesses in the real world. Tang Yinxian explained to Wang Xian, the young leader of the Thunder Clan has been pestering me for the past 2 days. He is a very annoying person. Is that so? That's because you're too beautiful, Yinxian. Wang Xian smiled. With Tang Yinxuan's looks, she was not inferior to Flower Fairy at all. She was not inferior to the beauties of the immortal sect. It was very normal for her to be pursued. Then does our Dragon King also think that I'm pretty? Tang Yinxian suddenly asked Wang Xian. However, she seemed to be a little straightforward as she quickly continued. Let's continue. Okay. Wang Xian smiled at Tang Yinxian. Oh, Miss Tang is here. Let's report to the young clan leader. There's actually a man beside him. I wonder what his relationship is with her. Oh. No matter who that young man is, he is far from our young clan leader. Oh right, they caught 3 earth starfish just now. It's a little strange. It's very strange. We chased after that earth starfish and actually took the initiative to run towards them. Oh right. There's also a very strange sound. The dozen or so young men who had left stopped on the surface of the sea, and looked behind them as they said in a slightly contemplative tone. Oh. First, tell the young clan leader about Tang Yinxuan's situation here. This Tang Yinxian is really beautiful. She actually caught our young clan leader's eye. This Tang Yinxian isn't simple either. She's very strong and the people around her are also terrifying experts. If it weren't for them, our young clan leader would have long made his move. This voice is coming again. Let's go and report to our young clan leader. The group of over a dozen people flew into the distance. Oh, it's coming again. This time there are more. It's 4. On the other side, Tang Yinxian was playing the zither with a face full of joy as she spoke to Wang Xian. Looks like we will be able to reap a lot. A smile appeared on Wang Xian's face. Yinxian, your sound waves are really powerful. Hee hee. Tang Yinxian smiled happily. However, she raised her eyebrows and said, there are people following us from the bottom of the sea. They are flying towards us. It's all right. I will get the Draconids to block the people below who are trying to intercept the Earth Star fish. Wang Xian shook his head nonchalantly. Splash! For Earth Star fish appeared. Wang Xian waved his arm and 4 water energy palms grabbed them. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, 2 figures flew out from the water and saw Wang Xian holding 4 Earth Star fish. Their eyes lit up as they looked at Tang Yinxian and Wang Xian. One of the terrestrial starfish is one that we have been chasing for a long time. This handsome guy, can you return it to us? The 2 of them were girls. They were wearing sky blue clothes that looked like fish scales. They looked very beautiful. The 2 of them were about 30 years old. Their eyes were sparkling as they stared at the terrestrial starfish in Wang Xian's hands. Sorry, we caught it. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the 2 of them and shook his head coldly. Don't be so stingy. You've already caught 4 of them. If you don't stop them, they belong to us. A girl walked forward slowly and said to Wang Xian, get out of here. Tang Yinxian, who was at the side, placed her arm on the zither and waved it slightly. Instantly, A water wall was erected in front of the girl. Huh. The girl raised her eyebrows and with a wave of her arm, she slapped towards the wall of water. Boom! However, Tang Yinshuan's hand on the zither rippled slightly, and the girl's body stiffened, and the wall of water crashed towards her. The powerful force caused her body to retreat more than 10 meters, and she was supported by another girl. You! The two's expressions changed drastically. Leave this place. Tang Yinshuan looked at them and said calmly. This is our Fengyan immortal sect's territory. A hint of anger appeared on their faces, and they stared at Tang Yinshuan. Tang Yinshuan looked at them coldly, and slowly placed her hand on the zither. You little girl, just you wait. The two's expressions were somewhat awkward, and their chests heaved up and down as they glared at Tang Yinshuan. They looked at each other, and then left. Chapter 766. Young clan leader of the Thunder Clan, 2/5. The Earth Starfish is very difficult to catch. How could they catch 4 of them directly? Moreover, it seems that the Earth Starfish swam towards them on its own initiative. Did you hear that strange sound just now? It should have been attracted by the sound. I really didn't expect that our immortal sect hadn't found a way to attract the Earth Starfish for thousands of years, and it was actually found by someone else. Oh, that little girl is very strong. Report this to senior sister and the rest. The 2 female disciples of the Fengyan celestial sect flew towards the celestial sect with an embarrassed expression. Oh, looks like she is destined to attract a lot of attention. Tang Yinshuan smiled at Wuxia when she saw the 2 female disciples of the Fengyan celestial sect leaving. It's all right. We are here to capture us. Don't bother about the others. Wuxia shook his head nonchalantly. All right. Tang Yinshuan nodded her head. She knew Wuxia's strength and influence. Naturally, she wouldn't be worried. On the beach in the east of the mysterious sea, there was only one small town near the sea that was relatively lively. Basically, all the martial artists who entered the mysterious sea had to pass by this place. Even Wuxia, who was riding on the airship of the natural-born celestial sect, had to land near this place. Boom! A rumbling sound was suddenly heard. The terrifying thunder beast, which was emitting lightning, landed heavily on the beach. The thunder beast was about 3 meters in size. It had a single horn on its head and its body was emitting a terrifying aura. On top of the thunder beast, a young man was sitting on it. The young man had a towering horn on his head and his eyes were like torches. The white-blue glow on his body was flickering with lightning. Beside him there was a lightning spear hanging. His entire person was like a god from the myths. Young clan leader. Miss Tang is in the mysterious sea. Beside the young man with the lightning beast, there were more than 10 young men beside him as they spoke to him. And no wonder I couldn't find her. So she's in the mysterious sea. You can't escape from my palm. The corners of the young man's mouth curled up slightly, and an intense confidence appeared on his face. Young clan leader. A young man hesitated for a moment before continuing. Young clan leader, there's another young man beside Miss Tang. Crackle crackle. The young man's gaze turned slightly cold, and the sound of thunder and lightning came from his body. He wasn't angry but he was imposing. A young man? Good. I want to see who dares to snatch a beauty from me. What qualifications does he have to compete with me? The young man raised his head slightly, his eyes revealing a cold expression. With a slight movement of his legs, the thunder beast directly soared towards the direction of the mysterious sea. Not far away, the crowd looked at the young man with reverence in their eyes. Some disciples from other immortal sects also stared at the young man's back with solemn expressions. In the pugilistic world, there were supreme beauties and there were also Heaven's chosen rankings. The Heaven's Pride roll didn't have a specific ranking for the time being. Those on it were all the most outstanding disciples of the 20 immortal sections. There were 20 people in total. Among them, the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan was on the Heaven's Pride roll. However, in the other seat, a group of disciples from the Wind Smoke Immortal sect also flew into the mysterious sea. In the center seat was an extremely beautiful woman whose dress was at least 2 to 3 meters long. There was a red dot between the woman's brows. Her entire body emitted a transcendent aura. Someone actually managed to attract the terrestrial starfish through a special method. How interesting. A smile appeared on the woman's face. This smile was like a blossoming flower that could topple a nation. Oh, this is already the fourth wave of people that we chased away. The special sound waves were able to attract the terrestrial starfish to swim over. Although the mysterious sea was very large, it covered a radius of 100 miles. Chapter 767, Old Friend 3/5. It's right here, a girl and a young man. They actually used a special method to catch the ground starfish. There are people blocking us at the bottom of the sea. Those people are all strong, much stronger than us. Just as Cheng Qingcheng was staring at Tang Yinxian, sounds of discussion came from the surroundings. More than a dozen people from the south were flying over here. There were also people from the east and north who were flying towards this direction. Some of the warriors were exuding a powerful aura as they stared at this direction with sharp gazes. Miss, tell us that our Wind Smoke Immortal sect can stop the others. Otherwise, you guys will be in big trouble. Cheng Qingcheng smiled as she glanced at the group of people who were rushing towards this direction. She was still smiling as she looked at Tang Yinxian. Haha, Cheng Qingcheng, Miss Tang Yinxian is a member of our Thunder Clan, so don't even think about it. The young man who was riding on the Thunder Beast revealed a bright smile as he said loudly to Cheng Qingcheng. Is that so? Cheng Qingcheng frowned slightly. It's them. It's that beauty. The special sound she plays can attract the Earth Starfish. If we get the method, as long as we get the method to attract the Earth Starfish, we'll be rich. The dozens of people around stared at Tang Yinxian, who was in the center, and said loudly, that's the disciple of the Thunder Clan and the Wind Smoke Immortal sect. Hiss, that's the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan and Cheng Qingcheng. Cheng Qingcheng. She's Cheng Qingcheng, so beautiful. No wonder she's the #1 beauty on the Peerless Beauty chart. She's like a princess of the immortal world. The group of people who came were slightly shocked when they saw the people from the Thunder Clan and the Wind Smoke Immortal sect. Their eyes landed on the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan and Cheng Qingcheng as they exclaimed in amazement. Haha, of course. Miss Tang's father is a member of our Thunder Clan, and she's also someone I've taken a fancy to. The young man on the Thunder Beast laughed loudly as he spoke, his face filled with intense confidence. Young clan leader Lei, I'm not a member of your Thunder Clan. Be careful with your words. Tang Yinchuan's expression was a little cold when she heard the young man's words. It seems that this beauty completely ignores young clan leader Lei. What a heartless woman. When Cheng Qingcheng heard Tang Yinchuan's words, she looked at the young man with a smile on her face. In my opinion, Miss Tang's beauty is not inferior to the beauties on the ultimate beauty chart. The only ones who can match her are naturally us heaven's favorites. When the young man heard Tang Yinxian warning him in front of so many people, his expression turned slightly ugly. He looked at Wang Xian, who was beside Tang Yinxian, and said, this kid is not worthy of her and is not qualified to compete with me. When Wang Xian saw the young man looking at him and heard his words, he smiled faintly and looked at him with a smile on his face. This lady's beauty is enough to be on the ultimate beauty chart. Furthermore, her strength is not weak. My 2 junior sisters were easily repelled. Furthermore, she possesses the skills to attract the Earth Starfish. It is true that an unknown person is not worthy of her, and cannot be compared to the young chief of the Lei family. However, although the young chief of the Lei family is outstanding, others may not like him. Cheng Qingcheng's eyes contained a trace of mockery as she looked at the young man and said. The surrounding martial artists who came forward didn't dare to interfere when they saw them conversing. They silently stood to the side, not daring to make any moves. Regardless of whether it was the Thunder Clan's young clan leader or the Wind Smoke Immortal sect's Cheng Qingcheng and the others, there was a huge gap between them. Looking at the girl in front of them, everyone revealed a look of surprise. She was indeed very beautiful, not inferior to the beauties on the unrivaled beauty chart at all. No wonder young clan leader Lei pursued her so much. Perhaps only such an outstanding heaven's chosen could be matched with such a beauty. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Someone's coming again. Chapter 768. Was shocked 4/5. The day of the grand competition of the Yongchang disciples was a gloomy day for the many heavens chosen disciples in the Yongchang world. When the Dragon King made his move, the heavens chosen were gloomy. Even his subordinate had the terrifying strength to crush all the heavens chosen. Especially the power of the immortals and gods that they unleashed in the end, which shook the entire Yongchang world. When the Dragon King and his men left the Yongchang world and the Yongchang world appeared, the immortal sect had investigated the news of the Dragon King of the martial arts world. The results of the investigation shocked them. However, as there was no news of the Dragon King in the past year, the Yongchang world gradually forgot about the Dragon King. They did not expect to meet the Dragon King who was casting clouds and rain in their world. Dragon King. Piao Lingxue hesitated for a moment before calling out to Wang Xian and walking over. Speaking of which, her relationship with this Dragon King was pretty good. The immortal sect also knew the reason for the Dragon King's massacre before he left. Speaking of which, regardless of whether it was the Great Hong Immortal Sect, the Yongchang Immortal Sect or the Immortal Slaying Sect, they did not have much enmity with the Dragon King. Flower Fairy addressed him as the Dragon King. Piao Lingxue addressed him as the Dragon King. The two of them walked towards the young man. Everyone was stunned when they saw two of the top 5 beauties walking towards the young man. Even the young man on top of the city-toppling beauty and the Thunder Beast had a look of astonishment on his face. Dragon King! Dragon King! Mu Lingchuan immediately shouted and walked towards Wang Xian. When Hong Tianda saw Wandering Snow walking over, he also called out respectfully and walked towards Wang Xian. Dragon King! Yin Fengwen also called out respectfully and walked over. He was not from the Yongchang world, nor was he from the innate immortal sect. Instead, he was from the puppet immortal sect. There was no need to mention the disciples of the puppet immortal sect and the Ming Wang immortal sect. Many of the disciples of the Ming Wang immortal sect were killed, and the immortal gods of the immortal sect went to take revenge. In the end, all the disciples of the immortal sect received the news that it was forbidden to offend the Dragon King. When he thought of this, Yin Fengwen felt his heart palpitate. The Dragon King was definitely not someone that a disciple like him could offend, even if he was the most outstanding disciple of the puppet immortal sect, and one of the heaven's favorites in the Jianghu. When he met the Dragon King, he still had to greet him properly. Hiss! Seeing this scene, everyone around sucked in a breath of cold air. What was going on? Why were the top beauties on the beauty chart greeting the seemingly ordinary young man one by one? Especially the group of people who had just arrived, they looked at him in shock. Just now, the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan said that the young man wasn't qualified to be compared to him. Cheng Qingcheng also said that the young man was an unknown person, and was inferior to the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan. This, what's going on now? Two peerless beauties went to greet him, and the 3 heavens chosen walked over. From the looks of it, they were all very respectful. A few disciples from the immortal sects looked at this scene in astonishment and started to discuss. Dragon King! The young clan leader of the Thunder Clan and Chang Qingcheng's expression darkened when they heard the discussion around them. Their eyes were sparkling as they stared at the young man whom they had overlooked. Dragon King! Wang Xian nodded at Fairy Centauria and Mu Lingchuan who were walking over. He looked at Piao Lingxue and Hong Tianda. Long time no see. Wang Xian said to them indifferently. Long time no see. Piao Lingxue sized up Wang Xian and nodded with a smile. No way. According to the description on the Ultimate Beauty chart, the reason why Chang Qingcheng was ranked first was because she loved to smile. Her smile could topple cities and she was ranked first on the Ultimate Beauty chart. Chapter 769. The Outcome of Finger-Pointing. Bang! A gigantic creature suddenly appeared on the surface of the sea in front of Wang Xian. Oh! Everyone was slightly stunned as they looked at the creature that had been killed. This. All of a sudden, the pupils of Chang Qingcheng, the young chief of the Thunder Clan, and the people from the Fengyan celestial sect could not help but constrict. A look of horror appeared on their faces. Water-traced horned beast. It's a water-traced horned beast. The scalps of the two people from the immortal sect turned numb as they stared at this gigantic creature with shock on their faces. Roar! The thunder beast that the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan sat on lay on the ground and growled in fear. Even though this creature had already been killed, its terrifying pressure still caused the thunder beast to tremble, and its eyes were filled with fear. Voila! Soon after, under everyone's shocked gazes, a red-clothed woman drilled out from the bottom of the sea. A flame danced between the woman's brows, and a faint flame flashed past her body. She had a perfect appearance, and her body had an imposing aura that seemed to rule the world. This aura was extremely dense, as if a goddess from the 9 heavens had descended upon the mortal world. Especially the flame between her eyebrows. It was filled with majesty, as if it was her third eye. It was completely incomparable to the red dot that was placed between her eyebrows with an item. The flame between the eyebrows of the lady flickered and gradually disappeared. Phew! Guan Shuqing controlled her physical body once again. She looked at Wang Xian with a smile on her face. The instant pressure turned into an instant smile. This change in temperament made everyone's heart flutter. Xiao Xian. Guan Shuqing looked at Wang Xian and walked over with a smile. She held his arm and glanced at the newly appeared Piao Linxue. Are you all right? Wang Xian looked at Guan Shuqing and asked her. I'm fine. Look, I even killed a creature in the water. Its strength has reached the level of an immortal god. Guan Shuqing pointed at the monster's corpse and said with a smile. Okay. Wang Xian nodded his head. When Feng Luan possessed a physical body, she could unleash the terrifying strength of a superior immortal. Killing an ordinary immortal god was a piece of cake. Hiss! However, Guan Shuqing and Wang Xian's words made everyone around them gasp. This was especially so for the people from the Fengyan celestial sect and the Thunder Clan. Initially they were still uncertain. Now that they heard it with their own ears, they widened their eyes. They knew that the lowest water-traced horned beast had the terrifying strength of a half-step immortal god. From the terrifying pressure of this water-traced horned beast, they guessed that it was most likely an immortal god-level existence. However, they didn't dare to be certain, nor did they dare to believe it. Now that they heard it with their own ears, they couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. To be able to kill an immortal-level water-traced horned beast, he must be at least a middle-level immortal. A middle-level immortal. This was a middle-level immortal. That girl was a middle-level immortal. This made everyone dumbfounded. However, what was the strength of the young man who was being held by that girl? An immortal-level creature. In the surroundings, the other disciples of the immortal sect let out low roars. Their eyes were filled with fear and fear. Wang Xian looked at the water-striped horned beast. With a wave of his arm, he stored it directly into his interspatial ring. He slowly raised his head and looked at the young man on the thunder beast. In an instant, the young chief of the Thunder Clan felt his scalp tingling. He looked at Wang Xian with an embarrassed expression and felt a little nervous. The surrounding people also looked over hurriedly. Just now, this mysterious young man asked the young chief of the Thunder Clan not to pester the girl beside him. In the end, the young chief of the Thunder Clan said that he didn't have the right to criticize him. And now, a goddess who was a middle-level immortal was leaning against the young man's side. In addition to the group of heaven's favorites and beauties who looked respectful, there was a high possibility that he was an immortal god. Talking to an immortal god like that was simply courting death. Under everyone's gaze, the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan was a little nervous. Especially under the gaze of Wang Xian. His heart was beating violently. It's forbidden for an immortal-level powerhouse to make a move. Furthermore, this is Ji Ding's territory. He gritted his teeth and stared at Wang Xian as he said in embarrassment. When the surrounding people saw the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan holding on, they also silently thought that he had a backbone. Just as he said, it was forbidden for an immortal-level powerhouse to make a move, especially since this was the Thunder Clan's territory, Ji Ding's territory. The young clan leader of the Thunder Clan was the most outstanding disciple of the current generation of the Thunder Clan. Even if he didn't provoke the immortal wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Wang Xian looked at him and smiled. Ripples appeared under his feet. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, a group of draconids who had been at the bottom of the sea moved and emerged from the bottom of the sea. There were 10 draconids and 10 infant stage powerhouses. The moment they appeared, the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan's expression changed drastically. What are you trying to do? He stared at Wang Xian and shouted loudly. Are you trying to tell me what to do? Then let's kill them all. Wang Xian looked at the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan and said coldly. When everyone around heard Wang Xian's words, their expressions changed slightly. Even though the immortals forbade them from making a move, it didn't mean that his subordinates couldn't make a move. These 10 infant stage powerhouses were enough to put the Thunder Clan in a desperate situation. Oh! However, at this moment, just as everyone thought that the 10 experts who had crawled out from the bottom of the sea were about to make a move, a figure emitting white light suddenly appeared behind the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan. 4 rays of white light flashed across the figure's body, and a terrifying force heavily landed on the Thunder Beast. Roar, roar, roar! The Thunder Beast let out a miserable cry, its huge body slowly lying on the surface of the water, sinking downwards. The Thunder Clan's young clan leader, who was on the Thunder Beast, also fell towards the bottom of the sea with a face full of fear. Young clan leader. The expressions of the surrounding Thunder Clan disciples changed drastically, and they hurriedly picked up the Thunder Clan's young clan leader's body. If you don't seek death, you won't die. It's true. You dare to be so arrogant to an immortal god, and you even said that you don't have the right to criticize him. After that, you didn't apologize. Now that your limbs have been chopped off, your life is over. You have guts, but you provoked an immortal god first. If you don't apologize, you're courting death. Having your limbs chopped off, I reckon that the Thunder Clan wouldn't care about this matter. Hee. I've always heard that the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan is extremely arrogant. Today, he knows the consequences of being arrogant. When the surrounding crowd saw young clan leader Lei's 4 limbs being chopped off, they revealed gloating expressions. Riding on the Thunder Beast, they looked down on everyone with an air of superiority. In the beginning, they had said that the Lord Immortal God did not have the qualifications to compete with him. Now, with a flick of his finger, he could cripple your 4 limbs. This was the consequence of being arrogant. When the Thunder Clan disciples saw the dumbstruck and despairing young clan leader Lei's expression, they were also extremely embarrassed. However, they didn't dare to say anything. They didn't even dare to say that they wanted revenge. In fact, after the Thunder Clan found out about this matter, there was a very high chance that they would just let it go. This was because the girl beside him was a middle-level immortal, and that young man was very likely a middle-level immortal or even higher. Chapter 770. Invitation Letter from the Xian Yuan Clan. My lord, we shall take our leave. The group of Thunder Clan disciples cupped their fists at Wang Xian. With an embarrassed expression, they carried the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan and left into the distance. When they saw this scene, everyone around them sighed. My lord, I'm sorry. I was rude just now. Please forgive me if I have offended you. At this moment, Cheng Qingcheng, who was watching the scene from the side, turned slightly pale. She quickly apologized to Wang Xian. We are here to catch Earthstar fish. Everyone, don't come and disturb us. Otherwise, the one just now will be your end. Wang Xian ignored Cheng Qingcheng. He scanned the surroundings and warned her faintly. Yes. We will definitely not disturb you. We will leave this place now. Everyone around nodded their heads respectfully. Wang Xian nodded his head slowly. The surrounding disciples of the celestial sect left immediately. Dragon King, we will take our leave too. Flower Fairy, Piao Linxue, and the rest hesitated for a moment before taking their leave. Please pass these spirit weapons and elixirs to Master Yu. Tell him that we didn't have the time to take our leave last time. Wang Xian moved his arm and passed 5 level, 12 spirit tools and 10 level, 7 elixirs to Piao Linxue. Alright, we promise to deliver them. Piao Linxue nodded and left with the spirit tools and elixirs. Hong Tianda, Yin Fengwen and the rest also bowed and followed closely behind. Alright, no one will disturb us now. Wang Xian said to Tang Yinxian with a smile on his face. Then the world will be ours next. Tang Yinxian walked to the side excitedly and said to Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded and said, let's continue. What? Yinxian can use a special method to attract Earth Starfish? Xu Qing asked curiously. Wang Xian nodded and said, yes, I plan to use this method to capture the fish for a few days. What is the phoenix looking for down there? I didn't find anything. The bottom is connected to the underground sea. It's bottomless. I flew at the fastest speed for more than 10 minutes but I still couldn't see the bottom. Furthermore, the interior is extremely vast and dark. It's like an abyss. Guan Shuqing said, Sister Feng Luan wants to find the way back to her world. She said that the spiritual energy here is too thin. Okay. Wang Xian nodded his head and looked pensive. In the next few days, Wang Xian, Guan Shuqing, and Tang Yinxian had been catching earth starfish in the mysterious sea. As for the matter of someone using a special method to attract earth starfish, it became a hot topic in the area of Jiding and the other cauldrons. Especially in the area of Jiding, everyone knew that there was a young immortal who brought along the wife of at least a middle-level immortal, as well as a beautiful lady and her subordinates to catch earth starfish in the mysterious sea using a special method. In fact, the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan had offended the immortal god back then, and had his limbs chopped off by his subordinates. Chang Qingqing had apologized to him in person. This matter involved the immortal god, the young clan leader of the Thunder Clan, and the number 1 beauty, Chang Qingqing. It immediately caused a huge sensation on Jiding. In the end, the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate, who was once the overlord of the Jianghu and was now a terrifying existence at the immortal god level, was dug out by someone. The result shocked all the immortal sections. At present, 20 immortal sects were standing in the Jianghu, and the 20 immortal sects occupied a territory. Now, a force that was comparable to the immortal sects suddenly appeared, instantly attracting the attention of all the immortal sections. The Dragon King of the Dragon Gate truly entered the sight of all the forces. And all the disciples of the immortal sects also knew that besides the immortal sects of the 8 cauldrons world, there was also a terrifying dragon gate hidden in the Jianghu. A powerful force with at least 1 middle-level immortal could be ranked in the top 10 in terms of overall strength. After Wang Xian received this news, he didn't pay too much attention to it. Chapter 771. Grand Competition of the Disciples of the Immortal Sections. Dragon King, the grand competition of the disciples of the immortal sects, is the recognition of each immortal sect and their disciples. Each of the 20 immortal sects will take out a treasure as a reward for the winning disciples. According to the rules of our grand competition, those who are in the top 20 and have joined the Dragon Sect will be ranked 21. Those who enter the ranking will be rewarded. The Dragon Gate can join the competition directly. What do you think, Dragon King? The 2 middle-aged men from the Xianyuan clan smiled at Wang Xian. Reward. Wang Xian looked thoughtful. Then let's make a grade 13 spiritual weapon. It's a celestial weapon. It can be customized. After obtaining the art of engraving formations from Fengluan, Wang Xian could already forge grade 13 spiritual weapons. With the materials he had now, he could forge many grade 13 spirit weapons. It was very suitable for him to take out the celestial weapon as a reward. After the grade 13 spirit weapon, he could add more and custom make it. This was to promote his forging workshop in the future. In addition, he could also showcase the heroic spirit of the Dragon Gate. Grade 13 spirit weapon. The two middle-aged men were slightly stunned. A hint of shock flashed in their eyes. Dragon King, are you sure that it's a grade 13 spiritual weapon? They pursed their lips and asked again in surprise. Of course. I'm a weaponsmith. I can tailor-make a spiritual weapon for the winner. Wuxia nodded with a smile. Dragon King, you're really generous. This reward of yours can be used as the reward for the first winner. The two of them smiled and said, Oh right, Dragon King. Each immortal sect has a spot for a guaranteed disciple. The guaranteed disciple can enter the competition for the 21 spots directly. There is no need for the previous competition. If it's a disciple, there might not be a disciple from the Dragon sect participating in this competition. Wuxia smiled and shook his head. Oh right, if the two of you need to refine a grade 13 spiritual weapon in the future, I can do it as long as you bring out 3 sets of materials. In the future, our Dragon sect will open a forging workshop and advertise it now. 3 sets of materials can be used to refine a grade 13 spiritual weapon. The two middle-aged men looked at each other in astonishment. Looks like I'll have to trouble you, Dragon King, to help me refine weapons in the future. The two middle-aged men were even more enthusiastic as they smiled at Wuxia. Among all the immortal sects, the Yongchang immortal sect was the strongest in refining weapons. There were 2 immortals in the Yongchang immortal sect who could refine a grade 13 spiritual weapon. Furthermore, the success rate was only 1/3 to 1/4. Furthermore, the 2 immortal gods basically would not craft a spiritual weapon. Other than the immortal gods from the Yongchang immortal sect, there were no more than 3 who could craft a level 13 spiritual weapon. To get them to craft a spiritual weapon of the immortal god, they would have to pay a terrifying price. Now that 3 sets of materials could be used to craft a spiritual weapon of the immortal god, it was believed that many immortal gods would come. The spiritual weapon of the immortal god was different from a level 12 spiritual weapon. The spiritual weapon of the immortal god already possessed the way of transformation, and was very difficult to craft. Wuxia smiled when he saw their expressions. Although inscribing an array formation was more complicated and difficult with a high failure rate, it was not a big problem for him. A 100% success rate might not be possible, but there was a 90% success rate. Moreover, if he were to let Fengluan refine it, it would be a 100% success rate. Now that he could get 2 out of 3 sets of materials, the benefits were already astonishing. Of course, no problem. At most, the Dragon Gate workshop will officially open in all the major cities in a month. Wuxia smiled. Alright, we will be there on time. We shall disturb you then. We will meet again at the disciple competition in 2 days. The 2 middle-aged men cupped their hands at Wuxia. Alright. Wuxia nodded. Thank you for your hard work. These are the earth starfish that we caught in the mysterious sea today. Consider them as gifts. As he spoke, he smiled and handed over more than 70 earth starfish. More than 70 earth starfish. Dragon King, you are really generous. The 2 middle-aged men looked at the net of earth starfish with a slightly bitter expression. Their eyes lit up as well. The preciousness of more than 70 earth starfish was enough to move the hearts of immortals and deities. Haha, we have caught more than 1,000 of them over the past few days. It's not a big deal to give you more than 70 of them. Take care, both of you. Wuxia cupped his hands and smiled at him. Alright, then we won't be stingy in accepting them. When we arrive at the Xinyuan clan, we will take good care of you, Dragon King. The 2 middle-aged men cupped their hands happily and accepted the earth starfish. Then they flew into the distance. This Dragon King is very different from the one in the information. He looks good and has a very good character. Maybe it's because of the powers of our Xinyuan clan. However, looking at how generous he is indeed not as difficult to get along with as described in the information. The two of them who came to the sky on their flying swords conversed in a low voice. Their figures turned into an aurora and disappeared. Xiao Xian, are we going to participate in the Celestial Sex Disciple competition? Guan Shuqing asked Wang Xian curiously from the side. Of course we have to participate. The so-called Celestial Sex competition is a competition between the forces of the Jianghu, and also a demonstration of the powers of the Celestial Sect. Now that the name of the Dragon Gate has spread throughout the Jianghu, this competition is also the first time the Dragon Gate will make an appearance. When the time comes, you, me and Aojian will go together. It will also be a demonstration of the powers of the Dragon Gate. Wang Xian said with a smile. If it's the day after tomorrow, we will have to make some preparations. Guan Shuqing nodded. Okay, call all the disciples of the Dragon Gate. We will head over immediately. Wang Xian nodded. The group of them came to a restaurant in a small town beside the mysterious sea. Wang Xian immediately contacted Xiao Yu and Qing Yu. A few girls were very interested in the competition this time around and expressed that they would go together. Naturally, Wang Xian agreed gladly. The next day, Wang Xian called Prime Minister Gue over and asked him to bring back the corpse of the immortal-level water-striped unicorn. With the corpse of the water-striped unicorn, with the effect of cultivating the star-guiding disc for more than a year, it was entirely possible to create one or even two immortal-level members. The Dragon Palace currently had 33 half-step immortal-level immortals. These 33 half-step immortal-level immortals had a high possibility of stepping into the immortal level at any time. Apart from that, the 9 Hueys were currently in the process of breaking through. It would only take them a few months to reach the immortal god realm. At that time, the 9 Hueys would have the combat strength of 9 immortal gods. When they came out, the Dragon Palace's strength would receive a terrifying increase. These few days, Wang Xian was prepared to go to the mysterious sea to devour some aquatic creatures. However, after searching for half a day, he only found a few dozen elixir realm and an infant realm creature. He had only increased his dragon chi by about 10 million. Brother, sister-in-law Shu Qing. At noon the next day, Xiao Yu, Qing Yu, Aojian, and the group of draconids rushed to the small town beside the mysterious sea. Other than them, there were also 10 strange demons hiding in the void. Aoya was among them. Let's go. Chapter 772. Immortal Sect Gathering. The first Immortal Sect Disciple Competition. This was a very sensational event for the entire Jianghu. For all the Immortal Sect disciples, this was a grand event. There were peerless beauties in Jianghu, and there was a Heaven's Pride roll. However, there wasn't a ranking on the Heaven's Pride roll. Moreover, everyone wasn't very clear about the overall strength of an Immortal Sect disciple. However, through this Immortal Sect Disciple competition, one could understand the strength of the disciples of the various great immortal sections, the true ranking of the prodigy roll, the overall strength of the disciples of the various great immortal sects, and even the strength of some immortal sects. This time, after the emergence of the 8 Cauldron world, it was the first time that a disciple could truly make a name for himself. This time the competition was for the strong, and they could soar to the skies in this competition. It was a heaven's chosen who could shine brilliantly in this battle. As long as they could enter the top 21 of the competition, they would definitely be the most powerful 21 disciples in the entire Jianghu. To those heaven's chosen and monstrous disciples, this was simply the best competition. It was a dragon that could truly soar to the 9 heavens. The entire Jianghu was in an uproar. All the disciples of the immortal sects were sharpening their blades. There was truly a chance to make a name for themselves. No disciple with ambition and strength would give up on this competition. On the pugilistic world online, everyone was discussing the matter of the disciple competition. There were even some who were analyzing the strength of the various prodigies. All in all, the entire pugilistic world was abnormally lively. Apart from the reputation gained from the competition, the rewards from the competition also caused everyone to be in an uproar. The Xinyuan clan has taken out the 1 heaven primordial water as a reward for the prodigy disciples. The Yuan clan has taken out a level 1 array spirit gathering formation as a reward for the prodigy disciples. The Holy Medicine Immortal sect has taken out 2 level 7 pills as a reward for the disciples. Oh, each and every one of them was richly rewarded, especially yesterday, when the Xianyuan clan announced an important matter for the competition. Apart from the 20 immortal sects, the Dragon Gate was invited to participate in the Immortal Sect competition this time. The Dragon King of the Dragon Gate had custom-made a level 13 spirit weapon for the Heavens Chosen. When this news came out, everyone was in an uproar. A grade 13 spirit weapon. Nowadays, even immortals and gods might not be able to own a grade 13 spirit weapon. The winning Heaven's favorites would be qualified to obtain a grade 13 spirit weapon. One could imagine how precious it was. The atmosphere of the entire martial arts world was ignited to the extreme. All the disciples of the immortal sects were filled with fighting spirit. Hey brother, which immortal sect is that over there? There are so many beautiful women. Just as they walked out of the small town and Wang Xian and the rest were about to board the airship, a group of people from the immortal sect beside them walked forward. Fengyan Immortal Sect. Only the Fengyan Immortal Sect is filled with women. Wang Xian glanced at Xiaoyu and said with a smile. No wonder there isn't a single man. I heard that their immortal sect has a beauty who is the best in terms of beauty. I wonder if she is prettier than her sisters-in-law. Xiaoyu looked at them curiously. Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue and the rest smiled and said, Xiaoyu cares about beauties? I heard that beauty Xiaoyu saved a handsome guy. I wonder if that handsome guy has given himself to her. Aya, what pretty girl saved a handsome guy? What kind of handsome guy is he? He is far worse than my brother. Xiaoyu heard their teasing and blushed slightly. She quickly said, Oh, is that so? Our Xiaoyu is not young anymore. Let us keep an eye on you. If you meet a good man, you can marry him. Haha. A few girls teased Xiaoyu. This made her pout. She hugged Wang Xian's arm and said that her sisters-in-law were bullying her. Wang Xian smiled at the side and said, If you want to find a boyfriend, I agree. In this competition of the top 20 prodigies of the immortal sects, if there's anyone you like, tell me. I'll propose a marriage for you. Haha. Brother, even you are teasing me. I'm ignoring you. When Xiaoyu saw that Wang Xian was not defending her, she tugged at his arm angrily. Little girl, you're not young anymore. Wang Xian patted her head lovingly. Humph. Xiaoyu rolled her eyes at him and pouted her lips without saying another word. That is, Dragon King of the Dragon Gate. At this moment, a group of people from the Fengyan Celestial Sect also saw Wang Xian and the rest. The two women standing in the middle looked over with a hint of surprise in their eyes. According to the information we received, the Dragon Gate has 2 intermediate immortals, 1 lower immortal, and 50 to 60 infant stage powerhouses. A woman's eyes flickered as she spoke. Indeed, they are all infant realm experts. All of them are following behind him. It seems that the Dragon Gate doesn't have any ordinary disciples. The weakest one is also an infant realm expert. They should be participating in the grand competition. There are a total of 3 immortal gods. The water blue staff in the woman's hand flickered with specks of light. Each speck of light was different in size. This was a method of detection. It's better not to provoke such a force. No ordinary disciples means no worries. Besides, the strength of this Dragon Gate can be ranked at the top among all the immortal sects. The woman next to her said indifferently. Chang Qingcheng and the other disciples of the immortal sects heard the conversation between the 2 immortal gods and revealed shocked expressions. They looked over and were filled with astonishment. A faction in the real world was participating in the competition of the disciples of the immortal sects together with the 20 immortal sections. Their strength was so terrifying that many immortal sects were afraid of them. The young clan leader of the Thunder Clan had his limbs cut off. The Thunder Clan did not have any reaction to this. The Dragon Gate could be considered to be walking in the sight of all the immortal sections. Wang Xian and the rest came to the airship and flew directly in the direction of the Xianyuan clan. This airship was gifted by the Puppet Immortal Sect, and was similar to the airship of the Innate Immortal Sect. The location where the Xianyuan cauldron appeared was not far from Shangjing. The Xianyuan clan and the Yuan clan were the two great immortal sects within the sect. The Xianyuan clan and the Yuan clan were also ranked in the top 5 among all the immortal sections. The immortal sect disciple competition this time was held within the Xianyuan clan. The ancient immortal sects and clans like to place their foundations in the mountains, and the Xianyuan clan was no exception. The airship arrived in the sky above a group of mountains. The mountain stream was filled with the chirping of cranes and the chirping of apes. It was filled with an ancient charm. May I know which immortal sect is here? Welcome. A voice was heard. Following that, a figure stood on the spirit sword and shouted at Wang Xian and the rest on the airship. Dragon Gate. Wang Xian looked at the half-step immortal god powerhouse of the Xianyuan clan and said in a deep voice, "So it's Dragon Gate. You must be the Dragon King. Please follow me." The middle-aged man bowed to Wang Xian and guided him. "Sorry for the trouble." Wang Xian nodded. The airship landed on a huge square under the middle-aged man's guidance. At this moment there were already quite a number of airships in the square. There were also people from other immortal sects around them. "Dragon King, we have already arranged a mountain peak for all of you to live on. Please." The middle-aged man from the Xianyuan clan gestured to Wang Xian. "Okay." Wang Xian nodded his head. Everyone followed behind the middle-aged man and walked forward. "Dragon King, this is the mountain peak where you live at Dragon Gate. The rooms inside are sufficient for all of you to live in." The middle-aged man said to Wang Xian respectfully. Wang Xian came to participate in this competition as a big shot. A top-notch powerhouse who was on equal footing with the 20 immortal sections. The Xianyuan clan didn't dare to be the slightest bit negligent. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.